Aita for leaving my boyfriend for no reason. I, 26F, have been with my now ex-boyfriend Eric, 28M, for 2 years. Overall, we've had a good relationship, nothing crazy, until last night when things completely fell apart. We were out at a bar with some of his friends, just having a normal night. Drinks, food, the usual. Eric and his friend, Mark, 28M, were joking around, and Eric made a comment about how much Mark was eating. Something like, "Careful, Mark, you'll eat the whole damn bar." It seemed harmless at first, just typical guy humor. But then Mark looked right at me and said, "If only she knew." It was one of those moments where you instantly feel uncomfortable, like there's something going on behind your back. I had no idea what Mark was talking about, and the whole vibe at the table shifted. But before I could even react, Eric exploded. He went off on Mark, screaming at him to shut the fuck up, and even tried to get physical. His other friends had to hold him back. Mark didn't really react, which only made Eric angrier. The whole thing was awkward as hell, and we ended up leaving early. When we got back to my place, I couldn't stop thinking about that comment. So I asked Eric, what the hell did Mark mean by, "if only she knew"? What don't I know? And instead of just answering me like a normal person, Eric lost it again. He started yelling at me, telling me to drop it and stop being paranoid. He was dodging every question, getting more pissed every time I brought it up. I wasn't trying to pick a fight, I just wanted to know what was going on. It felt like there was something important being hidden from me, and I wasn't about to let it slide. But every time I asked, he'd just get more defensive and angry. Finally, he stormed out of my apartment. He doesn't live with me, so I locked the door and called it a night. I didn't hear from him until this morning, and when I did, it was just more angry texts, telling me to drop it and leave him alone. At that point, I was done. I'm not going to sit around and be treated like I'm crazy for asking a simple question. I texted him back saying we're done, I need space, and if he can't be honest with me, then I don't want any part of this relationship. End of story. Now here's where it gets worse. He's been going around to our mutual friends, telling them that I left him for no reason and trying to make it seem like I'm the one who overreacted. Some of them have even reached out to me, saying I should have just let it go and that I'm blowing things out of proportion. I told them to mind their own fucking business. I don't care what they think, none of them were in that moment, none of them saw how he acted, and none of them have to live with the pit in their stomach that I've had since that weird-ass comment from Mark. I'm not about to stay in a relationship where I feel like something shady is going on behind my back. If Eric can't be straight with me after 2 years together, then what's the point? So, Reddit, Aita for leaving him over this? Some comments. Commenter 1. I get the distinct feeling that this is not the first time you've gotten on him about possible infidelity. Reply. You're right, sadly. A few months ago he was staying out late when going out with friends. I asked him about it, he stopped going out with his friends because, "You want this, you don't want me to be happy." Commenter 2. That's wild. I'm sorry you're going through this. I'd ask Mark or his mother for details. Reply. Mark messaged me saying, "Sorry you have to deal with that," before blocking me. How to contact him. Commenter 3. I'm guessing he said that in the restaurant in the first place cause he wanted to warn you and your ex wouldn't tell you, but Mark's a coward. Reply. That's what I'm thinking as well. Commenter 4. NTA, but also I think the situation didn't ask for a neurosurgeon to figure out. Based on the comment it seems pretty obvious that Eric used to, or may still have, be fat, and it obviously is a sensible point for him. Potentially he even was bullied by Mark for it, which is why he reacted to extremely angry and hot-headed on the matter. I think the context made it pretty clear that something along the lines was going on. That doesn't excuse him snapping at you, but you should get better at reading your partner's behavior, because I am a goddamn guy and not the emotional type either, but unless you aren't the sharpest tool in the shed, these are the obvious first things that come to mind. Reply. Thanks for your perspective. I get what you're saying about Eric possibly having a history with body image or being bullied, which might explain his reaction. But my point is that even if he has personal issues, it doesn't give him a free pass to lash out at me. I understand that men can have a tough time expressing their feelings, but relationships require open communication from both sides. I wasn't trying to poke at any insecurities, I genuinely wanted to know what was going on. When I asked him about Mark's comment, I expected a conversation, not an explosion of anger. It's not about being the sharpest tool in the shed, but rather about being in a relationship where both partners can talk openly without fear of being yelled at or dismissed. I've always tried to support him, and I want a partner who can communicate with me, especially when things get awkward. I appreciate your insight. Commenter 5. It kinda seems like you just wanted a reason to leave. There must be something you're doing to make him act like that. If he's denying it, why don't you believe him? You're supposed to believe your partner over everything, and for your friends you could have been nicer to them. They are just worried. Mark probably just wanted to get into your pants and you probably would have let him, judging off that you believed him over your own boyfriend. Reply. Wow, your comment is a prime example of how utterly clueless you are about relationships. This isn't about me wanting a reason to leave, it's about having the guts to walk away from someone who can't even communicate like a grown-up. If you think I should just sit back and accept Eric's insane outbursts as normal, then it's clear you've never been in a healthy relationship. Seriously, Eric's reaction was a complete overreaction. If you expect me to interpret his rage as love, you must be living in some fantasy world. I'm not a mind reader, and I'm not going to tolerate his childish behavior just because it makes him feel better. And your pathetic defense of my friends? They actually care about me, unlike you, who seems more interested in playing the white knight for some dude's toxic behavior. If Mark had a crush on me, that's his issue, not mine. I'm not the one who lost their cool and threw a tantrum. That was all Eric. By the way, I looked at your post history, and it's painfully obvious you have a deep-seated hatred for women because you got cheated on. Maybe it's time for you to shut up since you clearly can't keep a woman around. You're just bitter and pathetic, and it shows. Before you come at me, do everyone a favor and take a long, hard look in the mirror. This isn't about me believing Mark over Eric, it's about refusing to let some dude's explosive temper dictate my worth. So why don't you crawl back to your sad little life and keep your toxic opinions to yourself? Update, same post. I feel like I'm living in some kind of twisted nightmare, and the more I try to make sense of it, the worse it gets. Mark called me today while I was at work. I didn't expect him to call me because he was ignoring me. I stepped outside to take the call, and he told me something that I never in a million years could have prepared for. He told me that Eric has been putting other men's semen into my food, drinks, skincare, shampoo, conditioner, and even my toothpaste. I'm not exaggerating, I'm not being dramatic, and that's what Mark said. Eric has apparently been hooking up with random men, having them finish into cups, and then using it in my meals and drinks like it's some kind of sick joke. Even as I write this, I'm still in complete disbelief. Who does that to someone? Mark said he found out about this a week ago, but for some reason, it took him that long to tell me. A week. I've been living my life, completely oblivious, trusting Eric, someone I loved, while this was happening behind my back. I feel so betrayed, so disgusted, and so violated. When I asked Mark if he and Eric were having an affair or if this was some sort of twisted thing between them, he swore they weren't, and he even made a gross comment about not wanting to touch Eric because, who knows what diseases he has. That made my stomach turn. I'm getting tested for everything now because I don't know what's been in my body. When I got home, I went straight to the kitchen. Mark told me to check under the sink, and there they were, the cups. Hidden behind the cleaning supplies. I lost my shit. I threw out everything in the kitchen and bathroom, even stuff I knew wasn't touched. I don't care. Everything feels contaminated now. My home doesn't feel like a safe space anymore. Every time I walk into the kitchen, I feel like I'm going to throw up. I can't even function without my mind going to dark places, thinking about all the times I had no idea what was happening. I don't have any solid proof of this. It's just Mark's word and those disgusting cups, and I feel so powerless. If nothing can be done about this, I honestly don't know what I'm going to do. How is this even legal? How can someone get away with something so vile? I don't know if I'll ever be able to trust anyone again. This whole thing has been messing with my head in ways I can't even explain. I feel dirty. I feel like I've been violated on such a deep level, and there's nothing I can do to undo it. My mom wants me to check into a hospital just to make sure I'm okay mentally, and I'm honestly going to do it. I don't feel stable right now. I don't feel like myself. I'm scared I might hurt myself or someone else. Eric was eating the same food. He was eating the food that he had contaminated, right alongside me. Was it a kink? A power trip? I don't even know anymore. All I know is that the man I thought I knew, the man I loved, is a complete stranger to me now. I can't believe I've been living with someone capable of something so vile. I feel like I'm losing my mind, and I don't know how I'm going to come back from this. How can he do this to me? I'm genuinely losing it. I'm a danger to myself. I won't be on. I'm going to check myself into the hospital. Comments. Reply. I understand now. Commenter 1. I'm so sorry this happened to you. You didn't deserve this, no one does. I hope you can get the help you need. You are stronger than you know. Commenter 2. I am so sorry this happened to you. You have to get the cups and everything out of the trash. Maybe your mom or a friend can do it and you have to go to the police with it as evidence. And if you can, get Mike to write everything in text for you. You have to get the cups and everything out of the trash. Maybe your mom or a friend can do it and you have to go to the police with it as evidence. And if you can, get Mike to write everything in text for you. Commenter 3. I was wondering when someone was gonna say, take the cups and what Mark told you directly to the police. You have been sexually assaulted. That is the reality of this whole situation. Those cups need to be tested to see if they are actually semen. If so, charges need to be pressed. Commenter 4. And not just the cups. The shampoos, toothpaste. All of it needs to go to police station. He needs to be in jail if he was really putting stuff into your food. And honestly, he needs his ass beat too. New update, same post, 5 months later. After everything happened, I completely broke down. I stopped eating, I stopped sleeping, I barely even felt like a person anymore. My mom was terrified, and she practically forced me to go to the hospital. I tried to put it off for a couple of days. I got worse. She was scared I was going to do something to myself. And honestly, I don't blame her. I wasn't okay. I was so far from okay. I felt like my entire world had been flipped upside down. I couldn't even think straight. I just kept replaying everything in my head over and over again, trying to make sense of it, but nothing about this makes sense. Nothing. I ended up staying in the hospital for a week. The doctors were kind, and they did their best to help me, but there was only so much they could do. They couldn't erase what happened. They couldn't make it not real. At some point, I just felt like I was wasting space. I knew there were other people who needed that bed more than I did, people who were physically hurt, people who could actually be helped. Because what happened to me? There's no fixing that. No amount of therapy, no amount of medication, no amount of time is ever going to undo it. I know that now, so I left. I'm back at my parents' house now, staying in my old childhood bedroom. It feels so strange, like I've stepped back in time. Like I'm a teenager again, except I'm not. I'm an adult, and my entire life has just exploded in front of me, and I don't even know how to pick up the pieces. My cousin is here too, staying in the guest room, and honestly, I don't know what I would do without her. She's basically my sister, and she hasn't left my side since I got here. I know she's worried about me, even though she tries not to show it. I don't blame her. I'm worried about me too. The police actually took things seriously. I was scared they wouldn't, that they would laugh at me or tell me I was crazy. But they didn't. I could see it on their faces, they believed me. They went to Mark's house to get his full story, since he had blocked me the day after everything went down. That hurt more than I thought it would. I thought he was my friend. I thought he cared about me. But the second things got hard, he ran. But now, I know the truth. And I finally have the full story. That night when Mark and Eric were drinking together, Mark went to change the music on Eric's phone. While he was doing that, a message popped up from Lewis. Yes, one of the friends that told me I was overreacting. The message said, "Good night, I love you," with a heart emoji. Mark thought it was weird Lewis and Eric weren't that close, so he scrolled through the notifications and saw a bunch from Grindr. At first, he thought maybe it was just a joke. Apparently, Eric used to go on Grindr as a joke back when they were younger and having sleepovers. But the more he scrolled, the worse it got. There were so many messages. Mark said his stomach dropped. He felt sick. He never suspected that Eric was actually gay. He never even considered it. But in that moment, everything started to click. And then he realized something else: he had trusted Eric. He had changed in front of him. Slept next to him. Shared things with him. And suddenly, he felt violated, so he confronted him. That's when Eric broke down. He started crying, begging Mark not to tell me. He told him everything. Every disgusting detail. Mark said he just stood there, frozen, unable to move. He didn't know what to do. He told Eric to calm down and go to bed. Eric passed out drunk, and the next morning, neither of them spoke about it. But then that night at the bar, when Eric made the comment about food, knowing that Mark had struggled with body image issues his whole life, that was it. That was the breaking point. That's why Mark reacted the way he did. That's why he snapped. And now, for Eric, I don't even know how to say this, so I'm just going to say it. He's dead. After everything came out, Eric completely shut down. His mom said he wasn't eating, wasn't showering, barely left his room. She thought he was just processing everything, so she left him alone. She would leave for work in the morning, and he would still be asleep. She'd come home at night, and he would still be in his room, sitting there in the dark, smoking weed. She said he hadn't smoked since high school, so she had no idea where it even came from. Then one night, she woke up to a loud thump. She went to check on him. And that's when she found him. He had hung himself from his ceiling fan. The weight must have been too much, because the entire thing collapsed. She found him on the floor. She was the one who found him. Alone. I don't even know how to process that. As much as I hate him, as much as I will always hate him, I felt bad for her. No mother should have to find their child like that. No one deserves that. I'm not continuing the investigation. I don't have it in me. His family has already been through enough. And honestly, his death was my closure. That probably sounds awful, but it's the truth. He was a terrible person. He ruined me. He gave me AIDS. I am never going to be the same again. I will carry this for the rest of my life. I wish I had never met him. I wish I could erase him from my memory. I dread the day I die because that means I might see him again. And then there's Louis. He's hiding. He's blocking everyone, avoiding all contact. And at first, I didn't understand why. But now I do. He was involved. He was one of them. I didn't even consider it at first, but the way he's acting now. It's obvious, and if he was, he's either going to jail or getting hit with my car, and I'm fine with either. That's all for now. Sorry if this isn't the update you wanted. But this is my reality now. I'm so angry the thought of death doesn't even bring me peace because he ruined that for me. There's so much more to this, but I don't think it's really necessary for you guys. It's mostly just police stuff. Eric's family wanted me to attend his funeral, and then there's the whole situation with Louis. Also, Mark tried to sleep with me. Thank you so much for the support, and I'm sorry it took so long to update. I wasn't okay, I'm still not, but I'm doing better. Your comments and messages kept me going. I love you all. Stories number 2. Aita for forcing my father's partner to take back a lie she told my children. I'll preface this by saying I don't have the best relationship with my father, and his partner, Blair, is a big part of the reason why. While I don't hate her, she is extremely obnoxious and childish. She's also horrible with boundaries. It feels like any time someone tells her no, she hears maybe. She's been like this for as long as I've known her, but it's become harder to deal with since I had children, so I try to keep some distance. Anyway, Blair and my father are planning on going to Orlando in July. About a month ago, she asked whether me, my husband and our kids, 7M and 3F, wanted to join them. I thanked her for inviting us, but said no, because we're planning on going next January and there's a pretty big chance I'll have to work in July. Also, and I didn't say this to her, we've been to Orlando with her before and my husband has stated he'd rather eat glass than do it again. A week later, Blair told me they were getting their tickets and asked me whether I was sure we wouldn't join them. I said I was. Days after that, my sister called me. Blair had told her I was thinking about going while inviting her and her boyfriend. I, once again, told Blair we wouldn't go. Finally, Blair asked me if I'd be okay with her and my father taking my kids to Orlando. I said no, because we're not even in the same hemisphere as the US and I wouldn't let my young children travel to a different country without me or my husband. Last week, my sister babysat my kids while my husband and I went out. While we were gone, Blair visited to drop off a gift she and my father had bought for my husband. She also took the opportunity to tell my children we were all going to Orlando in July. My daughter didn't care about it much at first, I think she didn't really register it, but my son got very excited right away. He kept talking about how much he wanted to go to Disney and asking about the trip. And after watching her big brother like that, my daughter jumped on the bandwagon with him. It was both heartbreaking and infuriating to watch them like that. I called Blair and said she had two options, either she told my kids she'd lied and they weren't going to Orlando or I did. I added that if she told them, she'd have the opportunity to apologize and explain herself, but if I did, I would not do that for her. Blair chose to call my children herself. I kept the phone on speaker to make sure she was apologizing, explaining everything, and making it clear we wouldn't go to Orlando in July. Both my children, especially my son, were upset, but my husband and I had a talk with them and managed to cheer them up. My father texted me yesterday. He said that he didn't appreciate the way I dealt with this. Blair is still upset and thinks my kids are mad at her now. He wants me to apologize or at least try to get my kids to forgive her, but I don't see why I should. She was the one who lied to my children, and I'm not responsible for Blair's feelings. We're still on this back and forth, and I can tell neither of us is particularly proud about this. Aita. Stories number 3. Aita for not forgiving my parents and sister after they cut me off. I had an affair with her husband. I had an affair with my sister's husband when I was 16, yes I regret it and I truly am disgusted with my past self. When they found out my sister publicly shamed me, fair enough, and told my parents, also fair, she also told our parents, which was fair, but she chose to stay with her husband and blamed me for seducing him into being unfaithful. She forgave him and decided to reconcile, while I was left to face the consequences. My parents kicked me out, and I had to scramble to find somewhere to live. Every time I found a new job, my parents and sister would contact my coworkers to call me a homewrecker. They would harass me wherever I went, gossiping about my status. While no one treated me differently to my face, the stares and whispers were unbearable. I had to leave the city and move to another just to escape them and for my mental health. Some people might say I'm overreacting, but they really followed me like the plague. I moved and met a nice elderly couple who never had kids who took me in, Mark and Helen, and by that I mean they offered me to stay with them if I wanted and were so nice to me. I had my own place but I often visited them. To this day they mean the world to me. They knew what happened and I once even joked and had said something along the lines of, "Aren't you afraid I'll steal your husband as a homewrecker?" She told me that me being a homewrecker wasn't my entire personality and to move on and learn from what I did. I eventually met my now husband, and we have 4 children, all adults except for one who is 17. My kids know about my parents and the past situation, and they grew up considering Mark and Helen their grandparents, alongside my in-laws. Then, last Saturday, I received a message. I hope you can find it in your heart to read this message. I know we've been through so much pain and hardship, and I want to be honest with you about everything. I deeply regret how things have unfolded between us, especially the hurtful things we said and did in the past, and I am truly sorry for all the pain we caused you. Our actions have had lasting consequences. We never got to know our grandchildren, and I realize now how much we missed out on. Ex-husband cheated again and left her for someone else. I see how much she's been suffering. She's now a woman left alone with 2 kids, caring for a disabled child and an autistic child who has it hard too, and trying to carry on despite everything. She has been so strong, but it's not enough. We are in a difficult situation ourselves, struggling financially. We don't have enough space or resources to help her directly, but we deeply want to support her and her children. I am asking for your forgiveness. I know I and your father don't deserve it, but I hope you can see that we are trying to make amends, even if it's late. If there's any way you can help us with financial support or guidance to assist Serna and her children, it would mean the world to us. We want to do right by them, and by you, if you're willing to give us that chance. We love you. When I got that message I was pretty angry. 5. I have not seen my parents in over 10 years and I'm not willing to see them or even consider helping my sister with her kids. I have not responded yet, but my husband is willing to send her a very harsh letter on behalf of me. We are considering just ignoring them, but would I be an asshole if I let my husband write a harsh reply? Edit. I got to live with my grandparents after they kicked me out. I'm also 43 if that was not clear. My oldest child is 23, so no, they are not little kids anymore. Thank you for all the support. I came here expecting to get bashed. Stories number 4. Aita husband refused to buy me tampons. I'm sorry in advance for grammar and errors on iPhone typing this. For starters, I, 24F, am a Som and my husband, 30M, is the breadwinner. I like to think I do my best to take care of him. We also have a 1-year I am the primary caregiver for. Now to the main point. Yesterday I woke up to find my period had come. I am currently weaning from breastfeeding. This affects my cycle. It was very heavy and I bled through the sheets and on the bed. My husband was not happy because he had to help me clean up. I was soaked in blood. After I had cleaned myself, I cleaned my mess and washed and scrubbed the bed. My husband was still not happy. Later that day I'd noticed I was low on tampons, so I called my husband and asked him to please pick me up some. To my surprise he said, no. I asked if he'd do pads then. He replied, no. I was kinda shocked and asked, what am I to do? He said, well, are you paying for them? I'm obviously confused at this point when he then states, if you can't pay for them, sucks to suck, and hangs up. So being on my period, my emotions are everywhere. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I've been crying non-stop and I'm down to 4 tampons. I feel humiliated and I don't live close to family. He has my car and I have no money or savings, gave him everything when I became Som, and I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. I asked him again last night and he said, you got the money yet? He made me sleep on the couch as to not bleed through again. I've never felt so humiliated and ashamed in my life. Later he suggested if I can't come up with the money I could use our child's diaper, further making me feel terrible. I finally felt some surge of confidence and asked him if he thought of me as a wife or something less than human, that he's putting me in mental distress and humiliating me by suggesting such a disgusting thing. He said, well, if you don't figure it out that's what you'll have to do. Aita for asking for tampons. Note, we live in the us and tampons or between $7 to $10. We are middle class and not struggling for money. Update. I called my sister. She is my big sister. She is so sweet. She sent me a box of tampons and candy and some meds and sodas. Thank you to all for responding. I feel I overreacted. Also for all suggestions of divorce. How? I have nothing where to go. I could not even afford tampons. Is there another way I can try and fix what is done? I am going to try and get an online job, so I can work and still keep up my household and take care of my baby. I am thankful for all. Thank you. Comments. Commenter 1. This is financial abuse. Talk to your family, get a lawyer, file for divorce, take the child, get all you can from him. Commenter 2. And damn, not just that, she is his wife, mother of his child, and he's pissed about her having an accident. Made her sleep on the couch. He's dehumanizing her and putting her between a rock and a hard place. I'm disgusted. I once had to trudge 2 miles in ankle-deep snow for tampons because my ex-boyfriend wouldn't drive me. He drove a stick and I had no car. Oh, he told me to pick him up cigarettes while I was at it. I thought that was bad, but this takes the cake. ETA, for some reason people are bent out of shape by me calling this an accident. Have you ever farted and accidentally shit yourself? Well, some of us get our period and don't realize it, or some of us have a heavy flow and overfill. It's a biological thing that you can't always prepare for. Accidents happen, biological or not. Reply, I cannot divorce, I can't even buy my own tampons. How am I to afford divorce? Commenter 3. You can divorce as the system does allow you to take on debt to do so. You can talk to your family about having them cover the costs and you pay them back. You can talk to a lawyer to see if they can do it in a way that will charge him after completion or to be paid after completion out of any proceeds. So yes, you can divorce, as these are just 3 ways to do it. The other option you have is to be your husband's slave. Reply, I'm not going to put myself in debt for a divorce. My family is against divorce, especially since children are involved. I've tried talking to a lawyer and they've insisted on meeting in person. I have nothing where transportation, not only that but I'd lose all more than I'd gain. Commenter 4. Then you and your family have resolved that it is okay for your husband to abuse you. Lawyers insist on in person and in private for your protection and theirs. I wish you well. Update, 7 months later. I just came back to update. First things first, for to answer some of the comments on the previous post. No, this isn't rage bait, unfortunately that was just my life. No, the post isn't fake, my husband was just a complete asshole. Will elaborate in update. Looking back now I can very clearly see I was being abused mentally and financially, but not just me, my child too. Now for the update. As I said, my sister door-dashed me supplies for my situation, period. She knows what it's like. She came from a DV situation, but what I didn't know is she had messaged my entire family about the situation, including my husband's parents. So he got the surprise of his life coming home to them, not me. Apparently they ripped into him until he was brought to tears, and that was just the beginning. Then my parents showed up. They live very far away from us, and they basically tag-teamed his ass. Apparently the guys at work got it into his head that since I had a baby I should have bounced back better. And he better be careful of me getting fat. WTF does that have to do with a period ick, but they apparently just keep laying it on him. He also explained to me that he has gender disappointment. Yep, our baby isn't a boy, and I asked him, so you treat her like that? To which this man sobbed uncontrollably at my feet. We started marriage counseling and parenting classes, and I now have full assistance to our banks, and he even set me up a just-in-case account for if he ever does this shit again, and he deposits in it every time he's paid and only I have access to withdraw the funds. I don't think this one was necessary, but I have forgiven him for holding on to things like this. Weights down the heart, but I will not forget. But I will say it's been only 205 days since that post, and I feel like I have my dream man back it. And I have my sister to thank for that. Sorry if this isn't the update y'all didn't ask for or wanted. Sorry didn't get divorce, but thanks for all the responses to my old post. Comments. Commenter 1. It takes a woman an average of 7 times to leave an abusive relationship. Trauma bonding is very real and very hard to break. At least you have funds to leave the next time he shows his abusive nature, because I promise you he won't change. It took me 3x before it stuck with me. Wishing your daughter the best. Commenter 2. I can understand why you stayed, but you need to understand that his current behavior is only because his family shamed him. He refused to buy you feminine hygiene products, financially abused you, and when you asked for tampons he wrote, "It sucks to suck." He was getting some sort of sick enjoyment watching you suffer. He will revisit his past behavior again, but at least you will have access to funds so you can leave him. He is blaming his work colleagues for his behavior. You must realize this is just an excuse. The gender disappointment is also an excuse. Commenter 3. But maybe, him seeing how his family reacted might be a changing point. I'm assuming he has a good relationship with his family, and for them to have ops back, might have been a wake-up call. Hopefully it was, and the counseling helps as well. If not, then at least op has funds if it happens again, although I would maybe open a new account that he doesn't know about, just in case. If all goes well for the next few decades, it could be a nice retirement fund. Stories number 5. Aita 4. Seducing my ex's older brother and ruining their family. I honestly don't know how to get around it. it's been a couple of weeks and I'm genuinely confused as to what I did and if there were things I could have done differently. Anyway, this is going to be a long one, so buckle up, grab a snack and bear with me. I, 27F, was in a rather bad relationship about 4 to 5 years back. It was a textbook toxic relationship, and there are very few things in life that I regret as much as I regret staying in it for a year and a half, which was a year and a half too much. Just to give some context, this person, let's call him Chad, was a year older than me. We met in college, became friends and eventually grew closer after we both graduated. Anyway, the initial courtship period was a dream, which I now realize was severe love bombing. It's like he worshipped the ground I walked on. He showered me with compliments, small thoughtful gifts, handwritten letters, the works. I was smitten. However, one point of contention since day one was his insecurity, how he didn't believe he got someone like me, or how people apparently looked at us weirdly, because they couldn't believe he landed me. 5 months into the relationship, things took a permanent turn for the worse. His insecurity was through the roof. I wasn't allowed to have any guy friends, there was constant negging, regarding my body, clothes, taste in music, the way I spoke, everything. Also, I realized he had an alcohol problem and constantly micro-cheated. Engaging with his exes over late-night video calls, flirting with anyone and everyone under the pretext of friendship. He was my first, so I was extremely attached and couldn't leave until he finally cheated on me with someone he apparently saw a little sister and grew up with. I can't believe I lost my self-esteem and peace over a guy built like a wet cigarette, but I digress. I had made post about him earlier on this sub as well. Now coming to his older brother, let's call him Dan. Dan had always been polite with me, acknowledging me with max a nod or a smile or a hello. However, Chad was really uncomfortable with these interactions, because A, Dan was private and had never spoken to any of his other girlfriends. B, Dan had told him on a few occasions that I was too good for him and he shouldn't screw up. Okay, now coming to the main issue of how I apparently seduced Dan. 7 months ago I moved to a different city for work. I live alone in a 2-bedroom and my house is the go-to hangout spot for the few friends I've made here. Not like a party spot, but like a glass of wine, good food, safe space kind of a spot. I love cooking and hosting people, and my friends definitely reap the benefits. I'm the mom friend. Anyway, about 4 months back, one of my friends was supposed to come over and she asked to bring a friend who'd recently gone through a breakup. I didn't mind. When they showed up, I realized that this friend was Dan. We were both surprised and visibly uncomfortable. A few moments after settling down, he randomly blurted out that he knows his brother did me dirty and he'd understand if I wanted him to leave. This statement actually helped cut the tension in the room and I was okay with him being over. After all, he had always been nice to me, and I had a really good relationship with my ex's family, so I didn't ask him to leave. The three of us got drunk, consoled Dan and talked the night away. This started becoming a frequent affair, not the drinking though, with them coming over at least 2 to 3 times a week. At times Dan would stay even after the other friend left. Usually for dinner, because he missed home-cooked food, I didn't mind. Now, the friend who'd come over with him went out of town last month and this is when I think I should have acted differently. Dan started showing up alone for these weekly dinners now. He'd come way early and try and help me cook and stay really late, usually not even getting up to leave until I dropped several hints. On the last of these occasions, he shows up with my favorite wine and food, as a sort of thank you for being such a good friend, despite everything. We eat, we drink, we talk and drink some more and it's pretty late. When Dan tells me he drove to my place that day, he usually avails cabs, and that he's too drunk to drive back, so if I could let him crash at mine. I hesitantly agreed, given I had a spare room and also there wasn't any other reasonable option tbh. This is when things started getting worse I think. He started talking about what he thought of me when he first met me and presenting rather detailed observations about me from the time I dated his brother, and loads of other stuff, some compliments, some vulnerable statements, so very awkward jokes etc. After a little while he tried to kiss me, not like leaning in to kiss me, but more like it suddenly occurred to him he should do it, so he just grabbed my face and tried to kiss me. I pushed him away and went numb for a minute and then slowly went to my room and locked my door. I couldn't think and felt extremely hollow. I lay in bed awake for the remaining night. The next morning he was gone before I woke up. 3 days after the incident I get a call from an unknown number and pick up to realize it's my ex. He's wailing hysterically and screaming over the phone, calling me a wh*re for seducing his brother and that I ruined his family and his relationship with his brother and that I did a hideous thing for revenge which is way worse than what he did to me. There was a lot of name-calling, accusations. Because his brother isn't talking to him and his dad refused to get involved. So he feels completely abandoned. I didn't say a word and hung up, shaking. Turns out Dan had left that very night and called Chad cussing him out for ruining his chances with me, telling him he always had a thing for me and knew Chad didn't deserve me. So, Ada for leading on my ex's older brother. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, you're not the he was pursuing you with the intent to date or hook up. That's why he brought the wine and drove. It was an excuse to stay. I think he perused you taking advantage of the situation and your sympathy. I suggest avoiding this entire family. They don't seem to make the best choices or handle friendships well. Reply, the car thing was definitely a sign. TBH, I feel kinda stupid for not gauging this earlier. Commenter 2, so let me get this straight. One brother verbally and mentally abused you, the other brother sexually assaulted you, then the first brother called and verbally abused you some more, and you want to know if you're the Really? Block these two douchebags. They don't deserve another second of your thoughts. Reply, the ex has been blocked since Ian's. The other one is blocked now. I'm really not letting anyone from that family have any access to me moving forward. Commenter 3, NTA, neither brother is good for you. One is insecure and controlling and the other is manipulative. The brother set the whole thing up to pressure you into letting him stay the night and wanted to at least hook up with you. From the sounds of it, he's been planning for this for years, and he finally had the opportunity to put his plan into action. Time to make it clear to the local one the only relationship you will willingly have with him is a friendship. Keep blocking the ex. It sucks that neither of them appear to care about your feelings. Additional information from OOP after reading comments. Reply, thank you everyone for being so understanding. I am going to have a proper conversation with the friend who's a common link, sometime today or tomorrow. As for staying friends with Dan, hell no. I'm done with their family for good. Update, firstly, apologies for taking so long to post an update. I honestly had no intention of posting one, but then things kept unfolding on the daily and we are close to a month later, now. Secondly, thank you to everyone who has been super supportive and understanding, your words really helped me. This past month has been nothing short of a fever dream and this post is going to be long. So, let's begin. Ever since the night of the incident and the phone call from the ex, things have been fairly normal. I blocked the entire family, and as mentioned earlier decided to meet the common friend to tell her of the entire scenario. We met and I narrated everything that went down during the couple of weeks when she wasn't here. Here's what she had to say. Apparently Dan had spoken to her about me, asking her if she sensed a spark between us and going as far as telling her that he always felt I had a thing for him when I dated his brother. I was dumbfounded to say the least. Anyway, she apparently asked him to not imagine stuff and be normal and process his breakup. NGL, I was kinda pissed at her for not telling me and also being rather lackadaisical about the whole situation even after I told her what went down. She just asked me to get over it and not engage. Literally, just that much. I have decided to keep my distance for now. Now, from mid-April is when things really start snowballing. So, I live in a rented condo, in a gated apartment building. While I don't have the authority to install cameras or change the locks, I did add some extra lock and informed building security to not let Dan in anymore, or if anyone comes to visit me, to give me a call before letting them up. I thought that'd be it, but gosh, was I wrong. At around 2 a.m. on the 12th of this month, I wake up to my phone buzzing incessantly, being bombarded with calls and messages. There are over 100 calls from an unknown no. And some 5 to 6 calls from the building security. I call them back and can clearly hear a ruckus in the background. They ask me to come down immediately. Once down, what do I see? Dan is drunk out of his mind, screaming and hurling expletives, asking to be let up. I was terrified and stumped TBH. Once Dan notices me, he literally lunges towards me, repeatedly saying he wants to talk. By this time more people have gathered, additional security has been called and they try to drag Dan away when he punches one of the guards. He's then literally thrown outside. I apologize to everyone, especially the guard, and offer to pay for his injury, just trying to defuse the situation, in some sort of a daze. It wasn't until I got into the elevator, that I broke down. It was a mix of anger, fear and helplessness, and I was genuinely scared, because Dan is a big guy and if I were to face him alone, I wouldn't be able to fight him off physically. But as they say, bad luck comes in threes and there was more. The next morning I get a call from my landlord asking me to leave my apartment within the next 2 weeks. I was devastated. This was my space, a home I'd made for myself, and now I was being kicked out for no fault of mine. I explained the situation and while he sympathized, he said the actual residents of the building don't want someone who attracts violence and drama and has questionable character. OFC, after an extremely shitty last night and morning, I managed to drag myself to work somehow and pushed through the day. I just wanted to get home, stay in bed and cry. So, I chose to leave early and go home. You know how you can sense if someone's following you or watching you? I felt that while walking from my office to the subway, and just as I was about to enter the station, someone grabs my hand and pulls me aside. It's Dan, and I kinda freeze. He again keeps muttering that he wants to talk. He's very clearly on something and looks kind of manic. His grip is extremely tight and he's going on about how his family isn't talking to him and I'm the only person he can count on. At this point there are a few things running through my mind. This particular entry gate is a deserted one, it's the closest to my office, but it's the least used gate, surrounded by trees and kinda nothing. It's late afternoon and the few shops around this gate is closed, because siesta summer nap time. I just need to somehow escape and then head straight to the cops. Dan noticed me zoning out and made some innuendo-laden comment and touched my face. I think something snapped in me then and I screamed bloody murder. I screamed, think angry monkey, and stomped on his foot and ran down the stairs to the subway station and got onto the train that just came in. It went in the opposite direction of my home, but I didn't care. I called a couple of friends who knew about the situation and asked them to accompany me to the police station. The police station, ha. I narrate the incident, show the bruise on my wrist and tell them everything. Things they chose to hear. See, ex's brother, a woman let him into my home multiple times, alcohol involved, he didn't technically hurt me, I live alone, I have tattoos, this guy was my friend. So, I should probably try and amicably sort things out. Since there was no bloodshed or harassment that led to anything, they won't lodge an official complaint or arrest him, but they can make a general complaint and look into it if things escalate. I am literally holding in my tears at this point. I call Dan's father, tell him about his son, tell him I've lodged a complaint against his son. This man dodges all responsibility, tells me, we are all adults and are allowed to do what feels right. I swear I could shoot this family. So, I've lost my home, this man is lurking around harassing me, making my workplace unsafe too, the cops aren't doing shit, his family isn't doing shit, I don't want to bother mine. All I have is the copy of a general complaint. I felt helpless, but I had to do something. I looked up Dan's manager, who I knew hated him, HR and department head at his workplace, and sent them a scathing email, attaching the copy of the complaint. A few of my close friends started commenting on the company's LinkedIn posts and took to Google reviews about the company hiring predators. A couple of my guy friends shared the same information with his landlord, who happens to have a daughter. And lastly, I told the super gossipy, scheming aunt and their family, connected on Facebook, what happened, with some added spice. The fact that his holier-than-thou dad is the crux of family gossip over his son's activities is definitely not doing him any good. Last I know, Dan has been fired, asked to leave his apartment. Dan is terrible with money and has very questionable work ethic, and as a result of everything has been forced to leave the city and go back home. I have changed my personal phone number, gotten a new place and will move soon. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, if you have a lease, can your landlord insist on you leaving within 2 weeks? Reply, yes, the building corporation laws supersede the rental contract. It's a whole thing, even if it didn't, the law here doesn't really care about things like this. Commenter 2, why the hell did the building security ask you to come down, when there is a nutter screaming and shouting? Reply, I'm not a resident, I'm a tenant. So I don't directly contribute to their salary. So who TF cares? Commenter 3, sorry that you lost your apartment. This is the nightmare every woman hopes won't end in something worse. Glad you got revenge on the though. Keep safe out there. Additional information from OOP. Reply, addressing a couple of recurring queries and comments. The apartment issue, here, in this country landlords hold all the power. All rental contracts have a clause where either party can leave the premises with a notice of a mutually decided period of time, which is 2 weeks in my case. Could I have taken a legal route? Maybe, but the process would be extremely tedious, expensive and long drawn, and with a high probability that I'd be harassed even more by the authorities. As for the financial brunt of it, fortunately my work pays for my accommodation and they helped me out. I have informed people there of the situation and fortunately they were extremely helpful. Our company's HR head has shared Dan's profile across her network connections across the city, asking them to not hire him. She's been in the industry for very long and is extremely revered. She's been like a fairy godmother in all of this. The behavior of the police that I mentioned is extremely common in my country, and unfortunately there aren't enough and easily accessible groups, authorities or non-profits that take a stand against the police. There are loads of political loopholes and you don't want to have a target on your back. Sexism and misogyny is extremely deep-rooted, the kind of people who'll accuse a woman for staying out late or taking a deserted way home, if they happen to be harassed or assaulted. Stories number 6. I, 22F, believe my BF, 28M, might be tampering with my toothbrush. This is probably the weirdest and most disgusting thing I've ever typed, but I think I'm slowly realizing that my boyfriend has been doing something really fucked up. We've been together for about a year and a half. He's always been a little passive-aggressive when he's upset, he won't talk things through, he just gets quiet or moody and gives me the silent treatment. Or accuses me of trying to continue arguments when I'm trying to hash things out until the conversation ends. He loves to reset and act like an issue or disagreement never happened. Anyways, a few months ago, I started noticing my toothbrush was being moved. It's electronic and it would be off the charger on its side or the whole thing scooter back forward. I thought it was just getting knocked around because our counterpart is small. Eventually, I started noticing that it would be wet in the middle of the day or other times when I hadn't recently brushed my teeth. One time I noticed something on it like it had been used to clean grout. That's when I started keeping a small spare toothbrush hidden in my makeup bag which never was moved or messed with. Here's the part that really makes me feel sick. I finally confronted him after struggling to come to the reality that someone might be this disgusting and said something straightforward along the lines of, "Are you doing something to my toothbrush when you're mad at me?" And he just laughed and said, "You're crazy." And then refused to talk about it further. I don't even know how to process that. Like what? I haven't seen him do it, so I don't have proof. But I know something's up. I feel crazy, but my gut is screaming at me that this is real and he is getting back at me by putting my toothbrush in the toilet or something else gross. I haven't told anyone because it's honestly humiliating and gross. But I feel trapped between thinking I'm paranoid and realizing I might be with someone who would literally put my toothbrush in the toilet to get back at me. What do I even do? Update. When I wrote that first post, I felt sick, confused, and honestly ashamed. I didn't think anyone would even read it, let alone respond. But I did get responses, a lot of them. And something about that, being seen in a situation I've been quietly drowning in, shifted something in me. I didn't give him another chance because I still couldn't believe what was happening. I gave him one because part of me still wanted him to redeem himself. I wanted him to see how scared I was, how small he'd made me feel, and do something decent for once. After that first night I posted here, I thought maybe if I brought it up again, calmly, and gave him a real opening to be honest, he might finally do the right thing. Instead he doubled down. This time he implied it might be his daughter. An 8-year-old girl. He shrugged and said, "Kids do weird stuff like that, maybe she's been playing a trick on you." And when I tried to bring up how unsafe and confused I've felt for months, how he used to leave my food out on purpose when he was mad, how he pushed me to drop both work and school, how isolated and anxious I've become, he brushed it all off. Said they were just normal relationship disagreements that could have been worked through if I communicated better. It was so dismissive it actually stunned me. I realized, in that moment, that nothing I said would ever matter to him and never had, so I dropped it. I smiled. I pretended to believe him. I told him it was probably all just in my head. I didn't expect anyone to respond when I reached out. I've been so cut off from everything. But one of them did pretty much immediately, like she was waiting to hear from me again. She told me I could crash on her couch for a few weeks while I find a job back in my home state. Probably bartending or waitressing again, I don't care. I just needed out. She waited for me at a restaurant nearby. All I had to do was text her the second he left to drop his daughter off with her mom. The moment that door closed behind him, I grabbed everything I could carry, just a couple bags, and left all the big stuff behind without even looking back. It took 6 hours to get back home. But I'm here now. I'm safe, my body already feels different. Of course, I've already gotten texts. His daughter's mom. Her family. Asking where I've gone and begging me to come back, or saying the kid will miss me, that I was so good with her and they need help. And yeah, I will miss her too. I really will. She didn't ask for any of this. I'm not doing this for anyone else anymore. I'm doing this for me. For the version of me who used to have friends, who used to go out, and had a whole future planned. Thanks to everyone who commented and who reminded me that being scared in your own home isn't normal. Y'all helped me find the nerve to leave. This will be my only update on Reddit probably, but if anything else exciting happens maybe I'll come back to this throwaway account and let y'all know, lol. Stories number 7. So I, 23F, live alone in a small 2-bedroom house. One room is mine, the other one is basically my everything room. It's my office, my closet, storage. Sometimes I just lay on the floor in there and stare at the ceiling when life sucks, lol. It is not a guest room. I've lived with horrible roommates before, so I worked really hard to be able to afford my own place, and I love having my space. It's literally my safe little bubble. Anyways, one of my coworkers, 25F, got into a huge fight with her roommates and they kicked her out. She was venting at work and I felt bad and was like, "That sucks OMG," and even sent her a few places to look at. I was trying to be helpful without inviting chaos into my life. YK. Later that night she texts me saying, "Hey, I was thinking maybe I could just crash with you for a few weeks since you live alone and have the space." I literally got that sinking feeling in my chest. No, 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 no. I'm not even close to her. We're cool at work, but we've never even hung out outside of lunch breaks and complaining about our boss. She doesn't know anything about me and I don't know her like that. Why would she live in my house? So I replied super politely like, "I totally get that you're going through it, but I really value my space and I'm just not in a place where I can have someone stay with me." Like I was nice. Didn't ghost her. Didn't ignore her. Just said no. Next day she's acting really weird. Then another coworker tells me she said I let her be homeless when I have an entire room to myself. Like, girl. First of all, she's staying at her BF's place. Second of all, I pay to live alone. That's the whole point. I don't want to feel tense or uncomfortable in my own space. I don't want to tiptoe around a person I barely know. And I definitely don't want to deal with, just a few weeks, turning into, I'm looking but nothing's coming through yet, for 2 months. Now PPL at work are acting like I'm the bad guy. Sorry for not letting a coworker move into my apartment because she had a bad fight. I feel bad but like also no. Sum of comments. Commenter, NTA, I don't understand why a coworker would feel entitled to your home. That's truly bizarre. Her life is not your responsibility. I mean, I could maybe get it if you were super close and good, long-term friends with a deep connection, but a casual coworker. Reply, literally just a casual coworker. I don't get it. Commenter, anyone makes that comment again to you OP, you say, I'll let coworker know that you're volunteering your space to them, so kind of you. Commenter, NTA. You don't need to find out firsthand why her roommates and boyfriend don't want to live with her either. Reply, I'm definitely understanding it now seeing the reaction after saying no. I am a homebody and really enjoy my personal space given the fact I work 2 jobs and my home is my only carefree space. Commenter, NTA. For the co-workers saying you're letting the girl be homeless etc. etc. Do you see them offering a place for her to crash? Exactly. Reply, it's only because I work my tail off with 2 jobs to have extra space. Would feel pointless if I just handed that free space away. Commenter, NTA. This person is not a friend or family. Why doesn't she get an Airbnb or motel? Reply, that's what I was thinking. If she's in such a horrible spot I would even help her pay for a night or 2. If it was family or my best friend it would be a different story. But for added context I've only been working at this job for 6 months. Commenter, you said people at work are acting like you're the bad guy. Has anyone said anything to you about the situation? Reply, it's always something like, well I would if I lived by myself, I would if I had the space. I've had a similar situation happen to me and it sucks really bad. Which is why I sent her listings, not sure how that equated to, let me live with you, but it does seem like my reasonings of wanting to be alone are somehow invalidated. It's like they think my free room didn't come at a cost. Update, she went to jail, lol. Don't know what happened but I feel horrible to say I laughed. Well, solves that issue. Edit cause I have to highlight my favorite comment. Go up to the people that had something to say and tell them they are horrible for not bailing her out. Stories number 8. Aita for leaving my brother-in-law's wedding early after the bride kicked me out of the groom's suite. This is my first post on Reddit, I'm mostly just a lurker. My husband Darren and I used to live with his brother Adam and Adam's now wife Grace for a few years. We all got along really well and considered ourselves close. We hadn't lived together in a few years, they moved out on good terms. Still, there were never any issues between us. Adam and Grace got engaged last year and married last night. Darren was a groomsman. I wasn't invited to any of the pre-wedding events, no bridal shower, no bachelorette party, no rehearsal dinner. I also wasn't included in the getting ready time with the rest of the women in the family on the wedding day, even though Darren was involved in everything with the groom's side. I chalked it up to wedding stress and didn't want to make a big deal about it. It's their day, not mine. One of the photographers didn't show up. Darren volunteered me to stand in as the second photographer because I have a new phone with a great camera. I agreed. Afterward, the best man invited me into the groom's suite to take a celebratory tequila shot with the bride, groom, wedding party, and Darren. There were a few additional people in the room and it started to get loud and chaotic. At this point Grace yelled, anyone who's not in the wedding party needs to leave. So I quietly left and went back into the main area of the venue and sat with my MIL. Darren was furious and wanted to leave right away. We stayed a little longer to discuss the event with Darren's mom and sister Ava, who was a bridesmaid. Ava told me that months ago she had confronted Grace about intentionally excluding me from all the pre-wedding events and told her it was mean. Grace apparently stood firm and refused to include me. That conversation really confirmed that I wasn't just overlooked, I was purposely excluded. So between that and being kicked out of the mid-celebration tequila shot in the groom's suite, Darren and I decided it was best to just go, leaving 4 hours early. For the record, I would have stayed but decided to stand with my husband, who felt I was disrespected. I agree that I was disrespected, but was willing to overlook it because again it was their day, not mine. I still provided the pictures I took to the photographer. I sent her a Google Drive file and followed up with a text telling her to let me know if she has any issues with the file. I did not mention any drama. She responded thanking me and said, "I went to find you when the toast was taking forever and couldn't." Later Grace told me she made you mad so you wouldn't be sending them, so I do really appreciate that and your help. Furthermore, I am so dearly sorry how yesterday turned out for you. I never talked to Grace regarding any of this. AITA for leaving the wedding early. TLDR, I was excluded from all pre-wedding events, then yelled at by the bride and kicked out of a small post-ceremony celebration after offering to help when a vendor no-showed. My husband and I left the wedding early. Aita Edit, the wedding was Saturday and it's now Monday morning. No one has talked to the bride or groom. At minimum we were gonna give it a few days to simmer. But we are really leaning towards not confronting them at all. Personally, I feel like Grace knows she upset me. She seems so okay with that fact that she was willing to not get the photos I took of the ceremony. If they know they crossed a line and she's okay with that, what's the point of confronting her? If I were to confront her, the only thing I would want to express is that she hurt my feelings. But she knows that and doesn't seem to care. The only other thing I might gain from that conversation is why she's mad at me. There may be a good reason, something I did that I wasn't aware of. But I'm not looking to mend bridges with someone this unstable and as immature to lash out like this instead of confronting me as soon as I did the thing. Adults don't lash out like this, children do. If she had beef with me, that I was unaware of, she should have confronted me and had a conversation before it ever got to the point of screaming at me on her wedding day. I honestly think she used her wedding day to show me her true colors, thinking she'd get a pass since it's her day. I'm not interested in a friendship with this person anymore. Stories number 9. My fiancé of 5 years just requested we open the relationship, and that request sent me spiraling. This situation is just so strange and uncomfortable, and wherever I turn to support, I always get brushed off with, "It's not a big deal," or, "Well, he just asked," and I lack any real support or validation. I can't go to my parents, so I'm hoping a bunch of strangers on Reddit might offer more help than my social circle did so far. I, 28F, and my fiancé, John, 28M, have been together for, as the title says, about 5 years. To understand the dilemma, I need to give you some background. We both came from very religious backgrounds, though it affected both of us very differently. John became a problem child, running away, causing problems, and eventually finding a crowd his parents would not approve of. Most of the members of this group were a part of the LGBTQ+, smoked pot, engaged in protests and were either atheist or practiced different religion. Although some of the members since have left, this crowd became his current friend group. I won't go into details about each and every one of them, but the main ringleaders are Alex, 35NB, and Avery, 33M. From what I understand, they collected damaged people, as John jokingly said one day, and let them couch surf when things got rough. Alex is some sort of a Nepo baby and Avery works in IT, or something like that. John met them when he was 15. At first, I thought they seemed very cool and couldn't wait to meet them since John equated their relationship to that of a child and a parent, so clearly very important people in his life. But when I finally met them, when we were 21, and in college and home for the summer break, the meeting left me a bit disillusioned. Alex was catty and had snide remarks since I wasn't LGBTQ+ or anything, at most bi-curious, and Avery treated me like a child, but John said they always need to break new people in, so I tried to think positive and did my best to impress them with what I was studying and what my plans for the future are, both regarding me personally and my relationship. But the more I talked, the more they seemed to disapprove of me. Despite the strange meeting, John seemed ecstatic to see them again, and gushed about how much they liked me, so I kept my mouth shut and just nodded along. Now, to understand a bit deeper on who Alex and Avery are, in the town they live in, they're something like local celebrities. Very spiritual, their home is full of souvenirs they accumulated over all their travels, are also married, but their definition of marriage is very different from the traditional one. Apparently, they went to some tropical state and took some hallucinogens together, and in their state, they proclaimed everlasting love for one another. Quite a wild concept for someone like me, but I learned to be more open-minded since I left for college. That being said, they also said that they can see auras, whatever that is, and apparently love my fiancés. I don't know what they think of mine, but it probably isn't much. Which brings us to the topic I came here with. Last week, after we got home from work, John sat me down and asked me what I think about being in a polygamous relationship. He said he loves me so much, more than is possible, and doesn't know what to do with the rest of it, thinking that it's fair to give it to someone else. I, on the other hand, don't have a limit on how much I can love him, so I said no, and that was that. However, the question has been plaguing my mind ever since. If you knew John just a fraction, you'd know he researches about things long before he actually commits to anything, any lifestyle or relationship changes, whatever. This makes me think that he has already thought about it for a while, and that he also consulted Alex and or Avery about this. I don't want to villainize them, but I know, for a fact, they're not in a monogamous relationship, and they clearly don't like me as the rest of their little group. Again, I don't want to point fingers, and I won't ask John to show me his messages with them unless I have solid proof that isn't just a gut feeling, but I just have this horrible feeling that they, somehow, pulled in John. There's no way he just thought about it suddenly on his own. 5 years of relationship, and the idea of non-monogamy was never brought up, and now suddenly, just as we're about to be married, he brings this up. I don't buy it one bit, but I can't just go ahead and confront them now, can I? I just don't know what to do. I feel stuck. At home, I pretend everything is fine since my group of close friends told me that I'm just overthinking, and I believed it for a while, but whenever I look at John, all I can think of is, he thinks there's a cap on how much he can love me, and he wants to love someone else. I want to deal with this, but I don't know how. If I bring it up with John, he'll just brush it off as well, or he'll think I'm cheating or don't trust his friends. I worked hard to get their approval, and I know for a fact John shares everything with them. He wouldn't keep this for himself. I just hope that someone here can give me pointers on how to proceed. Thanks. BN. If you don't swing that way, then end it. It'll only get worse once you're married. This is not something you can compromise on. He wants to fuck other people while you do not. Reply. God, the idea of ending our relationship is so scary. I feel like I built my entire life since leaving for college around him, and if we separate, I worried I'm going to fall apart, but I understand where you're coming from. I need more time to process the reality of it all. Commenter 1. Don't let them brainwash you. There are plenty of cases where people are pulled into someone else's lifestyle and then randomly dropped. It will leave you wondering who you even are. I've been there and it ruined me. What happens if you drink the Kool-Aid and they reject you later? It's hard to come back from that. And I'm not saying this as a matter based solely on sexual preference either. New age mumbo-jumbo or auras mixed with radical changes in sexual interest can really fuck a person up. A lot of people like this function almost like a give mind or the popular clique in high school. If you already feel like you're being pushed away from the group, and now he's making this request, it's a bad sign. Also, the idea of him having so much love that it's unfair to only give it to you is a horrible cop-out and a very common excuse people use when trying to convince their so to try poly or open. It's often used to guilt people. It's almost like he's suggesting that you are greedy for wanting to keep your relationship personal and exclusive. I just say be careful. I don't want you to end up hurt like I was. Dedicating yourself to one person while their character and lifestyle is completely changing can end up with you getting hurt bad. If he is sincerely changing in this way, I'd be worried about how much you invest in him. I only say this because I was fully invested in my ex and she started hanging out with a group of college friends more frequently towards the end. One day we got into a small argument over parking and it ended with her saying she wasn't certain what sex she was attracted to anymore and wasn't sure if she was even female anymore and that we had to end things. Now, I would have been fine with helping them figure themselves out, but for her it kind of just became her excuse to break up with me. I think it was more about her them wanting to have fun and was influenced by her group of friends all being single or experimenting who all came out around the same time. I think she saw them having fun and felt FOMO-TBH. So to her, she was getting her chance to catch up on fun she may have missed out on being in a relationship. To me, it was losing a piece of myself that I invested years of love into. Reply. I'm really sorry you had to go through that. I really hope John isn't using this as a maneuvering tactic to get out of the relationship or a chance to catch up. It doesn't sound like him, but I'll keep this in mind. Update. Thank you so much for all the nice replies and genuine advice you've offered. Not to sound cliché, but I didn't expect over 100 comments and some nice DMs. I'm sorry I didn't respond much, the whole situation was kind of emotionally draining. I figured I'd update when something major happens, and I think this is it. But before I get ahead of myself, let me fill in some blanks in my story. Me and John came from similar backgrounds, but my family was a bit less strict, allowing me to go to college since I had great grades. The plan for me was to move back after getting a degree, finding a job, a husband, and living the traditional life, which, obviously, didn't happen because I met John, who literally changed the trajectory of my life. After a year, I switched from my first major to one I liked more, and it's been a while since I contacted my parents. They didn't approve, of course, but with John's help, I didn't give in to their demands to come back. Now they know I'm getting married and are invited, but the last time we spoke was about 2 months ago. John is completely no contact with his parents since 18. I didn't talk about the friend group in more detail at first since I didn't think they were that important, but they do like me. At first, they were obviously a bit unsure since to them, I was a cishet white passing woman, but they warm up to me and I'm proud to call them my friends. The only people who didn't fully accept me are Avery and Alex, and since me and John got together officially, they tend to call me the wife in this strange, almost derogatory manner. It's not an important detail, but it gets on my nerves. Lastly, John is aware that opening up the relationship would lead to me being intimate, physically or emotionally, with other people, but he said it's a great chance for me to explore my bi side, though I haven't expressed the desire to really be with a woman in a committed relationship of that magnitude. On to what happened. I shot a message to John 2 days ago that we need to talk. He works from home, I don't, so as soon as I got home, we sat down to have an in-depth conversation about his proposal. I think he knew what it's going to be about and I had the feeling he seemed almost guilty, but I ignored that and basically word vomited everything that's been on my mind. This is embarrassing because I wrote down most of what the comments advised and was prepared to have a mature discussion, but by the end of my easily 15-minute rant, I was in tears and he had to hold me, otherwise I'd crumble completely. The gist of what I said is that I'm hurt that he wants to fuck other people and that he doesn't care that I'd fuck other people too, that he believes there's a limit to how much he can love me and that I can't see where this all came from, that he just sprung this on me out of nowhere just a few months before we're to be wed. We tried to have a mature discussion, yes, but by the end, he was frustrated. He did apologize for making me feel less than, but said that my outlook on an open relationship is selfish. What it all boiled down to was that he feels he didn't have enough time to find himself before he committed to me, which is bullshit because he didn't show any signs of wanting more than I could offer. We were very happy throughout the 5 years. I really believed I met my soul mate. I realized that, since we were engaged, he seemed to talk more to his friend group, and by extension to Avery and Alex. Again, I don't want to paint them as these cartoonish villains, they're really interesting and all, but now I want nothing more than to scratch those self-absorbed, smug smiles off their faces. In the end, I demanded to see his phone, and he was shocked. We had a rule that we can see each other's phones, but we don't share passwords or anything since relationship is built on trust, and neither wanted to be a prison guard in the relationship. Nevertheless, he unlocked and handed over his phone, and I searched his messages, even deleted ones, and found nothing out of the ordinary. Then I checked the call log and guess fucking what? Hours-long calls to and from either Avery or Alex. I was fuming, and asked him what the hell does he need to discuss with them this long, and mind you, these dated months back. John eventually caved in and admitted it was them who brought up the idea of open relationship, but they also talked about everything else since they're such a role models. John admitted that he started getting cold feet a while ago and needed a safe place to discuss this. I guess I, his wife-to-be, am not safe. Please make it make sense. Why even marry me, then? He promised we'd go to a couples counselor and fix all of this, his issues with marriage, the open relationship thing, the whole 9 yards, and that he'd book an emergency session with his therapist. That he loves me and wants nothing but to be with me. It was late, so we went to bed. Despite how messy this all sounds, I was a bit more reassured by this. I genuinely love him, even if my post doesn't reflect that very well. Though many people said to just leave, I want that to be the last resort. I was willing to jump through hoops to make this work. But guess who's the idiot? This morning, I woke up to an empty apartment, and a message on my phone from John, saying that he needs a few days to think this all over and needs space. He didn't say where he was going or when he'd come back. I called and messaged everyone I know, but no one can tell me where John is. I told him that he either comes back home in 24 hours, or this is over. As you can imagine, I'm a wreck. I took the rest of the week off and between crying sessions and staring blankly into the wall, I obsessively check New York messages in hopes of someone telling me where John is. To be honest, if he's willing to put me through this, I'm not sure I want to be with him. How can you do this to someone you love? New updates. Hey, thanks, I'm doing better-ish. I just didn't really feel like updating since we're in sort of a limbo. He came back the following morning, and since then, it's like we're both roommates that do their best to stay out of each other's way, but go to sleep in the same bed. It's weird. After my post, I got Alex's number from one of the friends I'm the closest with. I called them like 15 times, all voicemails, until they picked up on the 15th call. I told them to hand the phone over to John, and they had the nerve to say he wasn't there, so I did a little bluff and said, friend's name, already told me he's there, and it worked. I so wanted him to be anywhere else but at their ugly-ass house with knickknacks lining the shelf, but once again, I'm the idiot for believing otherwise. I didn't let John get a word in and told him that he either comes home, or I'm packing his things and throwing them on the front lawn. He did, shockingly, show up the next morning. The wedding has been cancelled until further notice. We've been to a counselor and I have to admit, I wasn't easy to work with. I think the counselor was heavily biased for trying new things, so I just shut down and as a response to almost everything. Things haven't moved since. I want to talk, but I just don't know if it's even worth it, and John won't approach me himself since he's anxious about my response. I've felt like shit ever since he came back. Feels like I'm in two halves. One wants to talk and resolve this, the other wishes for nothing but for John to once again pack his things and leave to get some space at AA's. I talked with my mom and she said that every marriage is worth fighting for, and how can you expect every relationship to be smooth sailing? So, yeah. I want the situation to magically resolve itself however the universe seems fit because I can't move either way. Maybe I'll go to church after a decade lol. Update 2, hello everyone. I suppose it is time to give you an update since a lot has happened. First off, thank you for the advice, reality checks, DMs, and I'm sorry I didn't answer much. I just couldn't find it within me to answer, but rest assured, I appreciate every message and comment. Second off, in my post, I said polygamy, and I later on learned that it's supposed to be polyamory, on TikTok out of all the places, so I guess I apologize for that. No, my fiancé doesn't want to have multiple wives. I posted a short update in the comments that John came back and was indeed at AA's, Avery and Alex, and we're currently going to couples counseling and individual therapy. Each time I thought about updating, I realized more and more context is needed. Since my fiancé found my post, again, on TikTok, and I got the green light, the reason why he used to feel unfulfilled is because he's trans, and feels like he didn't get much experience in before committing to me. That's fair, I guess. I'm not in his position, so I can't tell. Now, you're probably going to be mad at me, but we're still together. I'm sorry. The wedding is still not happening anytime soon, but we still live together and go to couples counseling. After John found my post, he showed me the video and asked me if it's about us since it was pretty specific, and I admitted that I reached out for help to strangers on the internet. Despite him being the type to keep up appearances, he was calm and I let him read the comments, which was the eye-opener. I'm still mad a bunch of strangers got through to him better than I did, but at least someone got through to him. I'll admit, out of the two of us, he's more passionate than me, at least outwardly. He broke down and begged me not to leave him despite almost every comment telling me to do so, and even though I had one foot out of the door, I agreed to continue counseling and therapy and see where that gets us. For now, we have until the end of the year to work on our relationship, and if it doesn't work, it won't work. We agreed on this. After New Year's, no begging, no demanding, no bullshit, we're either in, or out. John also agreed to go low contact with AA and told me everything regarding them. For the sake of his privacy, I won't go into detail, but I'll share what I'm allowed to share. He said that, when he met them, AA were very warm and welcoming towards him in a way no one ever was, which hooked him. Like I said, his Christian home was not welcoming towards him, even before he came out. He never lived with AA more than a few days at a time even though they told him John is always welcome, even forever. They were like those cool parents who turn a blind eye to their kids smoking the green and stuff, and he admitted he let himself be buttered up. Then, about 10 years ago, he had sex with both of them. That either means he slept with them as a minor, or slept with them when he was freshly 18, which, either way, means he was groomed, in my eyes, and while John didn't entirely deny this, he said that's something he'll discuss with his therapist. I guess they played on his insecurities a little to sway him towards an open relationship. The night he left, Alex tried to put the moves on him, but he turned them away, though John admitted he's not entirely sure if it was on purpose or if Alex was just a bit tipsy and they didn't realize what they were doing. I think I know. And about AA trying to rope us into their polyamory band, I don't know. John said that the idea was pitched to him a few times, with AA painting it as the best thing ever, but that they never specifically said that they'd want to be our third and fourth, just joked about it, which John says is their style, but I don't know. I know it's naive of me to stay, that I should just pack my bags and leave, but I'm seeing a genuine change in John. He showed me a message he sent to AA, in short, telling them that he needs to distance himself for the sake of his relationship, to not contact him unless absolutely necessary. He gave me the password to his phone even though I didn't ask for it. Like I said, I want to be his partner, not his prison guard, but he said I can check it, even in secret, whenever I feel suspicious, so there's that. We're going to a different couples counselor now, and it's definitely going better. John keeps hanging out with his friends, all of them are 100% supportive, even though some of them are in an open polyamory relationship, but he asked that they don't relay anything to AA. Oh, and Alex messaged him a couple of times. It was very satisfying to see either them or Avery grow increasingly upset over John ignoring them completely. They also messaged me, but I immediately blocked them without even reading it. For all I care, they can rot in hell. The only reason I didn't drive over to their house to beat them up for what they did to John is because he convinced me to not give them any more energy. So, there you have it. I still have doubts, of course, and a temporary change is nothing if it doesn't stick, but I'm willing to see it through. I'm not going to throw away 5 years, not yet, not when it seems like there might be a future to it. If we do pull through, I'm going to make sure I send a wedding photo straight to AA's house, even though that's petty, and I shouldn't. Stories number 10. I feel very confused. Is it possible I have been given someone else's DNA matches? I don't recognize any of these people. I think there may have been some mistake with my DNA processing somehow. I've recently done one of the tests and got my results back, but I don't recognize any of these people. I am 19 and it says I have 2 children, which is impossible. I've only ever had sex with one woman and she never got pregnant, and it says I have 2 cousins on there and neither of them are my cousins. I feel really confused and I'm not sure how to contact Ancestry so they can look into how I got someone else's DNA matches. Picture of matches. Comments. Commenter 1. Those are parental matches. You should talk to your parents. Sounds as though you're adopted. Commenter 2. Could also be double donor conceived. Unfortunately, a lot of recipient parents don't plan to ever tell their donor-conceived children the truth of their conception. Unfortunately for them, DNA testing is now super popular and relatively cheap, so their kids are finding out. Commenter 3. This must be very confusing and stressful for you. Keep us updated, OP. Take screenshots of all your matches and any public trees in case they start going anonymous in the future. I do think there is a chance your 2 parental matches took their test in hopes they might find you one day. Have you contacted any of your matches? Reply, no, I haven't contacted any of them because I thought they were wrong. I feel really deeply in shock and I genuinely don't know what I should do. Commenter 4. I can only imagine. I would probably have to take a deep breath, or 100, myself if this happened to me. Is this something you'd feel comfortable asking your parents' family about? Like adoption? In vitro? Any other combo that might explain why you would not be genetically linked to the people you know as your family? Reply, I don't know. I just don't understand it all. I'm going to go to my friend's house. I feel really weird. Commenter 5. This is big news. Be gentle with yourself. It's going to take a while for you to process, and yes, you will probably feel really weird for a bit. Commenter 6. Take a deep breath. Do your parents know you got an Ancestry kit? As a parent, the CM levels are what I match my children at. I also match my own bio father at that CM level. The 2 people are your bio parents. I would get a trial membership so you can see matches by maternal and paternal side. Screenshot everything. See if any of the higher matches have a family tree. It may not be linked yet. As an adoptee, I had people hide their results from me when my results hit the database. Once you have information screenshot, you need to talk to your parents. Let them know you did an Ancestry test to see your ethnicity and got strange results. Reply, no, they don't know. They've always said the DNA tests are evil and will sell your DNA to the government. LOL. Update. Hello everyone. A lot of people have been reaching out to me after my last post, so I thought it would be easier if I just made one post on here giving an update rather than multiple comments responding to individuals. It has been a really long week for me. This has been the hardest time of my life and I know that just sounds stupid, but everything has really changed for me. I have had maybe 2 hours of sleep each night. I feel like I am really struggling. I don't want to sound like I'm whining, but I just feel so shaken by everything that's happened. I still can't believe that my parents aren't my real parents. You all sussed it out quick that I was reading the results wrong. JE and DP weren't my children, they are my biological parents. That feels not good to say and I feel bad about that. I have never felt different from my parents, always thought I looked like my dad. I look back through my life and it just seems unreal. DP is my biological father, JE is my biological mother. My parents, my adoptive parents. I know I should have gone to my parents first, I should have given them a chance to be honest with me. But I reached out to both DP and JE first instead. I was pretty simple with my message. Hello, not sure what is going on here. It says that we are matched as parent and child, do you know why? DP got back to me literally within minutes. He said he was so happy I decided to reach out and that he wasn't going to message me first in case I didn't want him to. He said he was going to contact JE and tell her I'm on Ancestry, if I was okay with that. I just asked if we could slow down. I said I didn't know what was happening because I always believed the people who raised me were my parents. He said, my parents' names, didn't tell you. He asked if we could speak over the phone after that. He called me, he explained a lot. When I was born he was only 15 years old, JE was also the same age. He said they wanted to keep me but both their families convinced them I would be better off being adopted. They were living in a small village and wanted everything kept as low as possible. My parents were family friends of Jay's parents and they offered to have me. It was agreed between everyone and when I was born I was just handed over. I feel numb writing this. He said that he and Jay wanted contact with me, but were told that it was better to just leave me. They said it was agreed I would be raised knowing I was adopted, and eventually after everyone in their families told them, they agreed that there would be no contact until I was 18. And that when I turned 18 I was to be given the full story of what happened and given a way to contact them. Every month my parents were meant to send a letter to Jay's parents about me, just keeping them updated. And for a while they did, but pretty soon it stopped. When they asked about me they were just told to move on and leave it by their families. So they suspected that something may have been off but they didn't think I was never going to be told I was adopted at all. He said when Ancestry came out they both decided to do it just in case I couldn't get in contact with them any other way. He told me a lot more but honestly I feel drained just typing that all out. He asked me if he could pass my number on to J.E. and I said yes. I know this is selfish of me, but I asked him to not contact me again and asked J.E. not to contact me until next week. I just need some time first. He sounded upset but he agreed and didn't say anything to argue with me or anything. My parents are good people, good parents. I don't understand why they would do this to me. I haven't spoken to them about this yet. I don't know how I am going to. Because now I just feel alone. Comments. Commenter 1. I'm so sorry. I had an NPE experience and it also hit me hard. I didn't hardly leave my bedroom for 3 days and felt disassociated. It's been a few weeks now and I'm much better. I hope that gives you hope. It takes time for the shock to wear off. It sounds like your birth parents wanted you and want contact, which feels confusing I'm sure, but that should also feel great that you were wanted. I'm sure your parents who raised you thought they were doing the best thing for you. They probably didn't want you confused and wanted to preserve their bond with you. I don't think it ever gets easier telling someone they're adopted, so maybe they just kept putting it off and then didn't want to hurt you. Probably not the best choice, but it seems you were very loved by all parents involved. Just take some time to process and maybe tell your birth parents you're more comfortable with written communication for now instead of the phone. Sorry you're going through this. Reply, it just feels all unreal. I still can't quite understand it all. I haven't spoken to my parents properly since I found out. I just don't know how to face them. Commenter 2, I'm so sorry. Unfortunately your story is not too uncommon amongst adoptees whose parents initially agree to tell their child the truth but they never end up doing it. You have the right to feel upset and betrayed. I mean, that's a huge secret to keep from your child for so long regardless of your intentions. I'm sure no parent ever intends to hurt their kids with this type of thing, but ultimately they should have given you the truth, instead of letting you find out like this. It may take some time but the initial shock will eventually wear off and it'll become just another thing in your life. It won't hurt forever. When you feel ready, I'm sure talking to your parents about all of this might help you get through it. Much love. Reply, thank you. I don't understand why anyone would do that to their child. Commenter 3, I really don't know why. Your parents may be the only ones who can answer that question. They owe you an explanation. Reply, I love them so much, which makes this so hard for me. I feel like I'm already a disappointment to them in so many ways and now I'm not even their real son. Update, I found out that I am adopted. I don't know how I'm ever going to forgive my parents. I found out that I'm adopted this week. I'm 19 years old. I never had any idea, no one ever told me or ever suggested I wasn't related to my parents. My parents don't know that I know I'm adopted. I haven't really spoken to them properly since I found out and now I don't even know how I'm going to face them. Since finding out I've had the opportunity to speak to my biological father over the phone and he explained a lot. I was born when my bios were 15 years old. They were pressured by their families to give me up for adoption, and my parents were friends of my bio-maternal grandparents. I don't know how I'm going to describe anything I'm feeling. I've had less than 2 hours of sleep each night since I found out and I've just been feeling like I am not even real. I am struggling so hard and I feel like I have no one. I have always felt like a failure to my parents and now I'm not even their real son and I am so scared that when they find out I know they won't want to be in my life anymore. I feel so broken. I've always thought I was so much like my dad, I thought I looked like him and now I don't even know myself anymore. I don't know what to do. Comments. Commenter, listen. You're real. You're here, you touch things, if I cut you you'll bleed, but I won't because that's very rude. You have experiences and feelings and preferences and things you find funny and heartbreaking. You have music that makes your heart jump, you have friends who love different things about you. You're a whole-ass person, whether or not you're adopted. I can't imagine how hard this is and how hard it's going to be. Someone made a roundup of resources for late discovery adoptees a while back, and it's pretty thorough and can at least help you get your feet back on the ground when you feel like you're becoming rather untethered. They should have been honest with you. We've known for decades and decades that honesty is the best policy when it comes to adoption. There's no shame in being adopted or in adopting. And you absolutely shouldn't be embarrassed or ashamed. Perhaps your parents should be for lying to you, but you've done nothing wrong. This, your adoption, isn't a result of a decision you made. You did not ask for this. You've done nothing wrong and nothing is wrong with you. Sending big hugs. Post when you need to, definitely get in with a therapist as soon as you can to help process all of this. You know how if you have a bad bone break you'll need physical therapy for a while so you can have some guided support in the recovery period? Therapists can be like that. There's also no shame in calling in the big guns when you're way out of your depth, whether that's a doctor or a plumber or a mental health professional. I'm so sorry, bud. Stories number 11. Aita for refusing to let my boyfriend move in after only 3 months of dating. I, 32F, have been dating my boyfriend Ryan, 35M, for a little over 3 months. Things have been going well, we see each other a few times a week, enjoy each other's company, and have been gradually getting to know each other. About 2 weeks ago, Ryan brought up the idea of moving in together. I was surprised. 3 months feels way too soon for something that big, especially considering I've lived alone for the past 5 years and really value my personal space. I told him as gently as I could that I wasn't ready for that kind of commitment yet and wanted to continue building our relationship slowly. He didn't take it well. He said I was putting up walls and that, if I knew he was the one, I wouldn't hesitate. He also mentioned that his lease is ending soon and moving in with me would help him save money. That part made me uncomfortable, like this was less about love and more about convenience. Since then, he's been distant and keeps bringing it up in passive-aggressive ways. He even joked to my friends that I'm keeping him at arm's length and treating him like a guest. Some of them think I'm being too cautious and should give it a try, but I've seen enough rushed relationships crash and burn to know better. I'm starting to question myself, though. Am I being too guarded, or is 3 months just too soon? Aita for refusing to let my boyfriend move in this early. Stories number 12. Wibta if I ditched my sister's wedding reception with my family. I, 31F, am due to go to my sister's, 26F, wedding in a week. My sister and I have never really seen eye to eye, and I personally think that she asked me to be a bridesmaid out of courtesy and necessity due to her lack of female friends. I am neurodivergent and have had issues with food, ARFID, since I was a young child. Everyone knows this. There's a short list of things that I will eat, whether that be down to flavor etc. Now my sister embraces the vegan, plant-based lifestyle. Nothing against this, you do you, whatever makes you happy. What I don't agree with, is forcing your lifestyle and beliefs onto other people. Let people make decisions about what they eat for themselves, it's not up to you or anyone else to judge. There's many reasons why people choose to eat what they eat: allergies, intolerances, religion, beliefs, neurodivergence, medical reasons, medication, or just plain preference. Now, I've recently found out that my sister has opted for an entire plant-based menu for her wedding. The menu has been released, and I'm having anxiety about attending because there is not even so much as a side dish that I will eat. Not only that, but many of the ingredients in the dishes, one of our elderly relatives is allergic to. There's no offered alternative. So, I've hopped onto reliable Google and had a look at what's available in the local area. There's not much, it's pretty remote, but there's a restaurant less than 10 minutes drive away from the wedding venue. Wibta if myself and my immediate family disappeared for an hour or so, during the reception to eat food that we can actually eat? Relevant comments. Commenter 1, be adult. Contact your sister, say great menu, but because of your condition, there's nothing on there that you can eat. You are keen to support her on her most important day. Which would she prefer? 1. You bring some food you can eat with you. Or 2. You nip out to the place 10 minutes away, eat, then circle back. That puts her on notice and gives her some input. If she doesn't go with either choice, comes up with something inappropriate, just give a neutral okay, and do what's best for you on the day. So you have a record, text her a day later, saying you know she's busy, thanks for listening to you worry about there not being anything on the menu at her reception that you can eat without bringing sick. Reply, I did exactly that. Thanks for the suggestion. She had a fit at our parents and is ignoring me. I mentioned the allergies in the group, and claimed she didn't know, it was on the ERSVP that she neglected to read. I'm not trying to be an I just feel that if you're inviting people to an event, everyone should be catered for, to some degree. And to spend so much money on food for it to go to waste, when it could have been spent on things that people would have actually enjoyed or gone towards something else. Commenter 2, NTA, but you must tell your sister. 2 reasons: firstly, any offense she takes is before but not on her special day. Secondly, by letting her know X amount of people won't be partaking in meals at the reception, she might be able to cut the cost of those meals from her budget. Also, I think it's preferable that you pack a picnic of foods you can eat and either nip to a room, garden, or the car to have a quick munch and return to the celebrations. As a member of the bridal party, the longer you are away from the venue the more noticeable it will be and many more people will be offended. Commenter 3, yes, but too late. Changes to any event menu must happen prior to these few days before. Bride is stuck with her menu and can only add costs now. It is a shame she made no considerations for regular folk. It is 100% on the OP for not requesting what the menu will be in advance, regardless of how well known her eating issues are. Same for elderly relative with allergies. The person planning the wedding should have added a space to the RSVPs for dietary restrictions. Reply: there was space on the RSVPs, and the dietary restrictions were mentioned. She didn't read it. That's been recently confirmed today. Commenter 4, what time is the wedding and reception? I'd be surprised if you couldn't just skip eating and grab a bite after. When my sibling got married I literally ate nothing because there was not enough food, and I couldn't eat any of it anyway. Heavy hors d'oeuvres apparently meant like 2 trays of food for everyone that were never replenished, and I was pregnant and not supposed to eat certain things. My parents just took us out to eat after because everyone was still starving. I survived, my baby survived. Most adults can comfortably go at least 7 hours without eating. I would just have a super heavy breakfast or lunch right beforehand and have plans for a meal after. Reply: so we're going to be on the road for about 7 a.m., get to the venue for 9 a.m., rehearsal and getting ready from 9:30-1, and from 1:30 p.m. it's go time. OOP on eating meat at the reception. Reply: who said I wanted meat? I'd be happy with fries and bread. Update: so, we did end up leaving the wedding, but not because of the food. Let me preface, the entire day was a disorganized mess. I was excluded from the moment I arrived. I ended up getting ready by myself, even though everyone else was in the bridal suite. I brought a sandwich for myself, which I couldn't eat until very late in the day, and sat at the wedding breakfast looking awkward as I didn't eat any of the vegan food. There was talk of a pizza order being made in the evening, because they weren't providing any food for the evening. This never happened, so everyone had to go hungry. It was unbearably hot in the dining room, so I asked the groom how long until the speeches, so I could go outside and cool down. I was told I had plenty of time, like 15 to 20 minutes. Within 5 minutes of me being outside there was cheering and clapping, meaning that they started the speeches knowing I was outside and would miss them. They'd also allocated us the room closest to the dance floor, meaning that my toddler couldn't sleep because of the noise and music. We ended up leaving at 9:30 p.m. and going home. Gotta love a 2-hour drive at that time of night, starving too. And because it was a child-free wedding, aside from my child, everyone was fawning over her and giving her bundles of attention that my sister obviously didn't like, because she was overheard with her new husband saying all anyone cares about is that bloody baby, to which she laughed and just told him to ethnicity because they were talking under our open bedroom window. I'm furious and beyond disgusted. This is the final straw, and I will be going NC with them both from here on out. I honestly do not care what people say about me, but the moment anyone comes after my child, who's done nothing but exist, then you're in trouble. I hope she's happy with her new family, because mine will no longer be any of her concern. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, you shouldn't have attended. Reply: I wish I didn't. Commenter 2, now TBH, you honestly shouldn't have gone to the wedding if you knew the wedding was child-free. I totally understand not having anyone to watch the baby and whatnot. But you were already contemplating on not going. That would have been enough reason to just not go. And I'm not saying that your sister talking shit about your baby is cool, because it was definitely uncalled for. But this really could have been avoided. All of it. Y'all wouldn't have had to starve all day, nor would she have been given a reason to purposely talk shit about you and your baby. She knew exactly what she was doing. She wanted you to hear what she was saying. Just use better judgment next time. Reply: my child was the only child allowed at the wedding. They stated that my child was the only child invited. She was a flower girl. Commenter 3, they sound like tools, but it also sounds like you expected outsized personal consideration for a few things. You could have asked the hotel to move your room, ordered your own evening food, or stopped at a market if you were hungry, and brought sufficient alternatives knowing the meals provided like the breakfast. Did they not tell you where the bridal suite was? Reply: we did ask if we could be moved, but all rooms had either been allocated, or the travel cot would not fit in the room. I was not told where anything was, we were just led to the room we were allocated. We ended up getting drive-through McDonald's on the way home. Commenter 4, did they hire a planner? This just sounds like a pile-up of oversights. Or maybe this is how they tried to cut costs. Either way, you got to witness a dumpster fire from start to somewhere before it ended. Reply: I think it was all self-planned, but the spending habits made no sense to me, personally. Spent 2.5k on a dress, 8k on food for the wedding buffet, but refused to get any sort of help to plan or evening food, or even a hairstylist for the getting ready part. There's plenty of cost-saving measures that could have been implemented. Commenter 4, like another bridesmaid, your mom, etc. Reply, she didn't get there until about an hour after I did and the other bridesmaids were off with my sister. Commenter 5, I don't understand why you think they should have waited for you to be the speeches, they can't remember everyone's plans and location all the time. Reply, it's more the fact that I wanted to be there, I wanted to make sure we could all be there to listen, and I was misinformed and left out. Stories number 13. EM is forcing me to marry me cousin to make her a citizen. I was going to post this on my main account before I came to my senses. This isn't really a throwaway but more an account I'll use to share stories of my entitled family, mom. Before you call bullshit and start joking around saying Sweet Home Alabama. Believe me, I wish this was bullshit but unfortunately it's an actual situation I'm facing. We are Dominican, don't know if that changes everything. I hate that song. I'm 20 and male, cousin is 19 and female. Spanish was my first language. I have a third cousin in Dominican Republic. They are not well off in that country and her mom is a little neglectful. At this point it feels like my mom cares more about her than me but whatever, she deserves it. She's a good kid who does well in school and wants to move to the US to go to nursing school, she can't however because she isn't a legal citizen. My mom decided that it would be the best plan for me to go to the Dominican Republic in June or July and marry my third cousin. To make her legal. She brought this up a few years ago but I thought she was joking, apparently she wasn't because recently she brought this plan up again but she actually talking about how she already booked flights for the Dominican Republic and shit. WTF. I'm in a relationship already and my mom literally told me that she doesn't give a fuck about my personal life, all she cares about is going to Dominican Republic and forcing me to marry my cousin. Thankfully, I talked about the plan with my significant other and they are supportive. Due to the pandemic and not knowing if it's going to get worse, I think it's safe to say we are not flying out there but my mom, for some reason, still acts like we are still going. Basically, I marry her and stay married for a year then we divorce amicably. My mom pockets any money that's made from this, if any. When I try to downright refuse this was met with screaming, physical anger and threats to kick me out. I'm afraid to go to any family members because I don't know what's going to happen. Top comments. Commenter 1, LOL well that won't work she will have to wait 3 years before become legal also there are the fees. Family sponsorship form, I-130, $535. Green card application form, I-485, $1,140. The practice of obtaining residency through marriage is illegal in the United States if the marriage itself is fraudulent. Commenter 2, please don't do this, it's immigration fraud and you will be punished. Commenter 3, you would be committing a felony. Do not do and tell your mother to back off or you will turn her in for attempts at immigration fraud. Commenter 4, you need to get away from your mother immediately. Being forced into any marriage against your will is never okay. Your mother also does not know what she is talking about. This will take much longer than a year. Green card marriages require regular check-ins to confirm the marriage is real, so say goodbye to your current significant other for the duration, and any immigration is quite expensive. She will pocket any money made off of this situation. How is she expecting to make money? You understand that if somehow she does, technically it will make your mother a human trafficker. I want to stress again how much you need to get away. There is the terrible and controlling behavior of forcing you to marry, as well as pushing you into a scheme that could result in serious jail time for those involved and drastically harm the chances of your cousin being able to immigrate in the future. On a sarcastic note, what's your mother's marriage status? Why doesn't she marry the cousin herself? EM is forcing me to marry me cousin to make her a citizen update. It's been 5 years since I made this post and honestly, I was never planning on updating and I forgot about the account until I just saw this YouTube video and was really sympathizing with the writer. Until I realized that I am the writer. My mom has always been abusive both physically and mentally and has always been very controlling of my life despite me becoming an adult. Things reached a point that I never thought it would when my mom tried to force me to go to the Dominican Republic to marry my cousin so that we could bring her back to the United States so that she could start nursing school. I logged into this account to see people messaging me for an update and people making up theories lol. Some said I died, others said I married the cousin and got into legal trouble etc. If I wrote in detail what has happened in the last years then this post would be a million characters long so here is a TLDR. Broke up with the girlfriend I was dating in the first story after I found out she was cheating on me. I never ended up marrying the cousin because I avoided renewing my passport and my mom found another person, in the US, that she was going to try to force me to marry and that fell through as well. I ended up summoning the strength to start standing up to my mom and she kicked me out of the house summer of 2021. I ended up moving in with another family member and I turned to drugs and alcohol to help me cope and I overdosed in December of 2021 at age 21 but thankfully I survived. Me and my mom reconciled January of 2022 because of her entering counseling in my OD. I ended up moving back in with my mother so that she could care for me while I got better, and she ended up having another freak out and kicked me out again August of 2022, and I ended up having to move to a different state with a Discord friend because my mom physically attacked me. I left all my possessions and everything I knew and loved behind, and I was utterly miserable in this new state. No money to my name, and I went days at a time without eating and tried to take my own life. I survived and started working my ass off and found a job. I then found another unhealthy vice and started my hookups phase in this new state and ended up dating someone who turned out to be the second most toxic woman imaginable, and I'm also a dumbass who doesn't seem to be able to learn their lesson. I moved in with my mother yet again in January of 2023, but this time things actually seemed to go fairly normal for a while. Since my mom realized she could use me for money and I'd let her cause I was a sucker, I started a career and started making money. Broke up with my now long-distance girlfriend, and after the breakup she accused me of cheating on her, but turns out she's the one that was cheating. I swore off relationships for good, and got close to a girl that also swore off relationships for good, and yup, we ended up dating LOL. We celebrated our 1-year anniversary, and after yet another freak out by my mom in January of 2025, because my girlfriend gave me the reality check to stop letting her use me and my girlfriend made the plans to move in together, and as of April of 2025 me and her are now living together, and I am 800 miles away from my mother and barely call her. Me and my mom are cordial because I still want contact with my little sister, but I only call my mom on my terms, and anytime she starts acting entitled to me I cut her off and threaten to go no contact. I'm now living a peaceful life that I never thought I'd be living before. I'm living with the love of my life, and I'm planning on proposing to her soon. I'm being flown all over the country thanks to my career, and my partner's family have basically taken me in as one of their own. I want to take a moment to say thank you to everyone who read and replied to my old post. You guys truly helped me put a lot of things to perspective, and it helped me realize what a messed up situation I was living in. I have tons of stories from events that have happened over the years and stories from my career as a touring musician, so LMK if you guys want to hear some. Feels kind of therapeutic writing these. Thank you guys. Top comments. Commenter 1, the best ending. Commenter 2, if you had agreed to this fraudulent marriage, your life would have gone to shit too, because that's a federal felony and you would have been found out. Glad your life is back on track now. Commenter 3, I'm sorry you went through so much, but it sounds like your partner is a huge help to you and helps you remember your mom can't be trusted. I wish you guys all the best. May your future be as bright as your beginning was crummy. Also, BTDT with that same channel. I knew he'd done my post as he'd featured it when it was pretty fresh, but it had been a few years since then. I had a playlist on in the background, and when the first sentence was read, I was like, oh hey, this is similar to my story. Neat. Then a second later, wait, this is my story. Gave me a chuckle. Stories number 14. Something is happening in my home. I'm dreading writing this. My thoughts are not coherent, so please bear with me. We went to sleep at 10, locking our bedroom, fan with full speed. Since we had been discussing before about something serious, I'm quite not sure how efficiently we had closed our door. I couldn't sleep. Just at 12, I felt the need to use washroom. Opened our bedroom door, and was stunned by the loud noise coming from a video from some electronic gadget. I quietly woke my husband in the bedroom to check if his mobile was running. He was alarmed, and showed his phone. My phone was also next to my bed. I shut the bedroom door and latched it. The video voice was running in the background. I assumed it was our laptop running some reels from YouTube. We didn't watch it before sleep. So, I don't know how it's possible. We decided there might be some intruder. Decided to call our owner who stays nearby, but he must have kept his phone on DND. Unable to reach him. After a while the electronic video voice ended, like someone realized we were not sleeping. Don't know if it's false alarm, or we are truly fucked. Has anything like this happened to anyone? Give me some insight, please. Comments. Comment 1, my TV turned on in the middle of the night twice at 3:30 a.m. The second time, I went and switched off the extension box. The next day I realized it was the auto-on settings when there's a power cut and it's back. I turned it off and it's fine now. Maybe just check your TV. Reply, our TV is now just a monitor. No TV. Only laptops. Comment 2, I'd recommend not opening your doors. Stay shut till morning, wait it out. Be aware of your room and any sounds. If necessary be up all night, time to stay strong and alert. Wish you the best, it could be nothing or could be everything. Stay off of Reddit, and call the police. Go all the way. Reply, worried it'll be false alarm. I'll follow your advice. We'll wait till morning. Thank you. Comment 3, did you find out the device the sound's coming from? Are you sure it's something from your house? Also, what was the sound? Could it be an alarm? Could it be that whatever it was from was playing for a long time connected to headphones, and when they died it defaulted to the device's speaker? Reply, it was like a cheap advertisement that comes when you watch movies from a legal website. Something like rummy ads. Definitely heard the audio loud and clear with that creaking electronic noise that comes from such advertisement. It could have come from outside because our bedroom is nearer to next house, and there is a window. That could be the most harmless reason, and we wish it is so. That headphone could be true, because I do have a Bluetooth headphone. But I don't know why the video suddenly stopped playing. If it was running through laptop, it must have continued doing so. It felt like someone realized we woke up but did not come out. Gods, I feel so crazy, stupid and scared too. Update 1. I probably will keep my phone down and wait for morning to come. My ears are getting hypersensitive to sounds, and adrenaline is pushing me to imagine things. Just now a Gurkha whistled but he was not in our street. Tried to get a grip of where he is, by opening our bedroom window, which directly opens to a site that's filled with tall bushes and wild shrubs. Couldn't locate him. Closed the window, and lied down, only to hear noises later. It felt like someone walking over dried foliages. But then, every night critters, rodents and cats do that. Brain is overworking, I suppose. I'll update in the morning, if I can. Comments. Comment 1, was the laptop switched off? Sometimes there's an update and when it's on whatever background process plays, and I guess it happened with me once where YouTube was playing as I hadn't shut down. Try getting the laptop and checking if the tabs were playing audio. Comment 2, what time was it when you heard the video play? Since you mentioned rummy ads, it could be someone watching the Pak Sri Lanka cricket game on Hotstar. Match ended around 1:10 a.m. around when you stopped hearing the video. Comment 3, check if you have a gas leak or any sort of carbon monoxide leak. Carbon monoxide poisoning can sometimes cause audio and video hallucinations and paranoia, as well nausea, confusion, etc. Comment 4, relax guys. It's probably a bored neighbor watching some stupid video on full volume in the middle of the night. Sleep tight. Update 2, okay, I am alive and yes, I slept off, because I had no sleep till 4 in the morning. My phone had also died, and there was no power. So, honestly, I was in no position to update you all. Thanks for all the comments. It felt like there is a supportive group behind me, making sure I am not going insane. As almost everyone had mentioned, it was my laptop. God knows how that stupid video played at 12, but it did play by itself, and ended after 10 minutes. And my dumbass realized late into 4 in the morning to check my YouTube history. It's a false alarm. But I'm glad we are alive and it's just a false alarm. Oh, side note, strangers do come at night near our house, at that empty site, make noises or create nuisance. Sometimes even teenagers do that. But for some reason, we were never scared then. Also, someone died by carbon monoxide poisoning next door, just a week back. So, yeah, we did think about the possibility of us having hallucinations. Overall, we are safe. If you have gas geysers, please remove it, because people not just get hallucinations, they die within minutes. Comments. Comment 1, this reminded me of the time when my boat speakers, at 1 a.m., I dozed off at 11:30 p.m., said adios amigos, powering off. Comment 2, there's always an explanation for the seemingly unknowable. Once at night, in another city, in a huge house surrounded by groves of trees, I could hear a rhythmic swishing sound from outside the window. It was a dark night. I lay frozen. The sound went on and on. I called softly to my HB, a sleepyhead, several times and he finally answered with a really loud what. The noise stopped abruptly. Never heard it again. Years later, I think I figured it out. There was a mango tree outside the bedroom. Someone was sweeping the leaves on the ground looking for the mangoes. At least that's my explanation. Stories number 15. Aita for not wanting to share my birthday with a man I hate. 17F, and turning 18 7 days after this post. I texted my GC, with around 8 ppl in it, to invite them over to my house for an intimate birthday party. It will be the first time that I've had a birthday party since my sweet 16. Everyone responded with, sounds fun, and, I'll be there, and I went to bed, but when you woke up I saw a text from him. I'll call him B. For some quick background, B is a asshole, he's a military kid that moved to my town in my junior year, and we have butted heads since day one. Some of my friend met him at church in the summer before junior year started, and off of first impression he seemed cool, but when he met me we almost immediately didn't get along. In casual conversation I mentioned that I was Catholic, he's Christian, and he proceeded to dog on my religion non-stop, insulting my beliefs and important members of the church for no reason other than to demean me. My friends however, encouraged us to start over and try to be nice to each other. So I tried. He did not. It's impossible to name all the fights we had, but one prominent one we had for context is from prom my junior year. I had gotten a Denny's gift card from work and told my friends that I would use it to get a round of pancakes for the group and something for me and my boyfriend at that time after the dance, and if they wanted anything else, they'd have to pay for it themselves. Everyone agreed and we went around 1 a.m. When we went to pay, I paid my share with my gift card. B, who had gotten a whole separate meal, realized that he had been overcharged by around $4 for a milkshake. He immediately blamed me, and here's how the conversation went. B, hey, I was charged an extra $4. Me, that sucks, you should go talk to the waiter. B, no, you need to go talk to the waiter. Me, why would I do that? B, because you said you would pay for everyone but now I'm being charged, you need to go get this figured out or you owe me $4. My friend, B, this doesn't make sense, stop blaming her. It's probably a simple mistake. Was charged for their milkshake. B, no my friend, well then the waiter just charged you for your friends. Has nothing to do with her. B, angrily to me, I'm going to remember this, walks out of restaurant. Now that you have some context about some of the shit that he likes to pull, it makes sense why I don't want to share a birthday with him and I should have to. The only reason why I still hang out with him sometimes is because a few of my friends are still friends with him, and I don't feel like tearing apart my 4-year-long friend group apart my senior year over one person not worth my time anyways. He was held back in elementary school, and so instead of turning 18, he is turning 19 in 3 days. He already made plans to go to the movies with friends that day and he's having a birthday dinner, so while he's not having a party that day, he still made plans for his birthday already. So, I texted my friends and everyone was down to come to my birthday party on the day of my birthday. I go to bed around 9:30, and when you woke up at 6 I checked my phone and saw it texted in the GC from B that said, I would be hosting a birthday party that night BTW if y'all want to go to instead, I understand, or we could incorporate it in. In shock, I clarified that it was my birthday and that even if I were to move it, which I would never, I couldn't because I have softball districts and my clinicals for my CNA all in a congested period of time right now, so my birthday is the only day that I could even have my friends over. His reasoning for having his party on that day was because it's the only day that one of his other friends could make it. My girlies have my back and aren't going to even entertain going to his party, but I'm scared to talk to some of my guy friends because they might choose to go to his party, or leave my party early to go to his. I don't want to back down, but I'm tempted to have a girls-only party, so I say myself the but hurt of possibly having some of my friends choosing him over me on my birthday. What should I do? Update, AITA for not wanting to share my birthday with a man I hate. So it has been a hectic but good week. Basically, I did nothing. I sat back and let things play out. After being talked to by a few of my friends, B backed down and said he'd try to find a different date, and that was chill. I felt very relieved. However, the night before my birthday I revived a text saying, would we be able to have a joint party tomorrow night? The only reason why I wanted a separate one is because I want to spend it with friend that's moving, before he moves away, but if he'd be able to come would that be fine? I'm willing to help pay for some of the food too. After about 30 minutes of thinking, I responded with this. I'm really not comfortable having over for my birthday tomorrow. This is planned to be a very intimate hangout of not just my friends, but my family too. If you want to be with him instead, then I totally understand and support that. I'm so sorry that he's moving, but my family and I aren't wanting to change tomorrow's plans, so I'm going to stick with just the people I invited. And he responded with just, okay. So, it's the afternoon of and he texts the saying he was inviting a bunch of people over for his birthday party, even though his birthday was over and it was my birthday, and he was gonna start his party at 5, and he knew that my party started at 5. And, he said he was gonna have like a big swimming and shooting thing planned. I immeasurably stress out again, because why did he reinstate his plans again? And will the idea of shooting make my friends want to go to his party instead? But instead of responding, I just sit back and let things play out. Long story short, everyone showed up and stayed the whole night. We had tons of fun and no one even mentioned leaving to go to his place. Everyone had the full intention of spending the day with me and my family. Later, I look at his Insta story, and see that the only PPL that showed up to his party was his friend that's moving and his girlfriend. It was a very happy ending, for me at least. And I know that my friends are the most loyal. Stories number 16. Professor has been secretly docking points anytime he sees someone's phone out. Dozens of us are now at risk of failing just because we kept our phones on our desk, and I might lose the job I have lined up for when I graduate. Also posted to College Rant April 12, 2025. My professor recently revealed that he's been docking points anytime he sees anyone with their cell phone out during the lecture, even if it's just lying on their desk and they're not using it. He's docked more than 20 points from me alone, and I don't even text during lectures. I just keep my phone, face down, on my desk out of habit. It's late in the semester and I'm at risk of failing this class, having to pay thousands of dollars that I can't afford for another semester, and lose the job I have lined up for when I graduate. I talked to him and he just smiled and referred me to a single sentence buried in the 5-page syllabus that says, cell phones should not be visible during lectures. He's never called attention to it, or said anything about the rule. He looked so smug, like he'd just won a court case instead of just screwing a random struggling college kid with a contrived loophole. So far I've, 1. Tried speaking to the professor, 2. Tried submitting a complaint through my school's grade appeal system. It was denied without explanation and there doesn't seem to be a way to appeal, and, 3. Tried speaking with the department head, but he didn't seem to care, literally just said, that's why it's important to read the syllabus. I feel like I'm out of options and I don't know what to do. Some comments and replies. Commenter 1. He might just be trying to scare you and has no intention of actually deducting the points. Have you spoke to anyone that previously took his class? Reply. Yes, actually. It came to light that this is a trap he pulls some semesters. Some people knew about it through word of mouth and were careful. I just didn't get the memo. Neither did a bunch of other kids in my class, and we're all in shock. He's serious about docking the points. Commenter 2. Did the syllabus even say anything about docking points for it? I looked. The syllabus says he retains discretion to adjust anyone's grade in light of any infraction. Edit. To clarify, unfortunately the infraction is referring to having your phone out as well as a number of other things listed in the same paragraph, like not doing the readings, etc. To me, it just read like a boilerplate paragraph in the middle of a long syllabus. I never thought he'd enforce it so rigidly and harshly, so I didn't even register that just having my phone on my desk could have even been an infraction. Commenter 3, in reply to a deleted comment, Professor here. Nah, go see THR Dean in person, and encourage others to go as well. Professor here. Nah, go see THR Dean in person, and encourage others to go as well. I've tried. There's no ability to meet in person with the dean. The department head is as high as I can just walk in and meet with as far as I can tell. Update, April 26, 2025 post was removed but recovered by DC. I couldn't believe how much my original post blew up, and I implemented much of the advice I got. Now I'm at a crossroads. Background, the original post is here. For those who didn't see it, the TLDR is that my professor was secretly docking points from students anytime their phone was visible during class, based on a single sentence buried in the syllabus. I just had my phone resting on my desk face down, not using it, and he docked more than 20 points from me because it was visible. The consensus here was to escalate the issue, and the advice I got was great. Things were on track until yesterday. Here's the update. Update, after I read everyone's feedback, I emailed the dean and the school newspaper. No response. I know that at least 2 other students in my class tried emailing the dean as well, without any luck. But I ran the math and I'm guaranteed to fail the class if the deductions stand. I have nothing to lose, so I wrote a petition. No one has taken this seriously coming from us individually, so I think it's important to show that it's not just a couple disgruntled college kids whining about a bad grade. My plan, if I can get signatures, is to send the petition to the dean and school newspaper. I hit a small snag when I reached out to 5 classmates that I trust about signing the petition to get the ball rolling. They all thought it was a great idea but didn't feel comfortable being the first people to sign. So to get around that, someone in the last thread suggested using a website, bopetition.com, that lets me make it so that signatures start out anonymous, but then unanonymize when enough other people sign. That way no one has to be the first person to sign. But here's where I hit a major snag. Yesterday, as I was getting ready to send the petition out, my professor sent us all an email attaching an amended syllabus. The amended syllabus is exactly the same except now has a paragraph which says, all grade disputes must be raised exclusively through grade appeal system. Any attempt to dispute a grade through alternative channels, including but not limited to direct outreach to faculty other than professor's name, will result in an automatic failing final grade of 0%, without exception. Welp. I thought that was the end of it. No one would be interested in signing after that. Surprisingly, 3 of the people I spoke with independently messaged me asking if I was still going through with the petition, and promised that they would sign if I did. They're pissed. They think this new policy is retaliatory. And then, 3 other people I hadn't even talked to about this reached out and said they heard that I was planning to send a petition, and would sign if I sent it. They think a bunch of others would too. They wouldn't tell me who they heard about the petition from, but the cats are out of the bag now. I'm not sure exactly how many others have had their grade docked because of the phone policy, but from asking around it seems like at least half the class had some kind of deduction. Now I have to decide how to proceed in light of the update to the syllabus. I'm considering going through with the petition, but having the app make it fully anonymous so we have some plausible deniability. The final result would only say that out of the 50 people in the class signed, but not who. Relevant comment. Commentator 1, okay, so I've been teaching in higher ed for about 10 years now and it seems to me like this professor is trying to get out of actually doing his job. It's unethical as hell to be playing with people's lives and docking points without having been upfront about it. That's just not the kind of thing I would ever do, but the biggest red flag for me is that we're basically at the end of the semester, which means he's anticipating a bunch of people trying to dispute the grades at once. If he can give a bunch of you a failing grade because of a policy like this, he doesn't have to sit down and actually do much grading then. That's the impression I'm getting, but I do also want to tell you that I didn't see this as whining. GPAs can really affect your ability to engage in some forms of professional development. I got a bad grade in one class during my undergrad and my GPA never recovered. I had to explain why my GPA was under a 3.0 when I applied to grad school because of it, so I have always taken grading really seriously. I'm sorry this jerk hasn't. Commentator 2, OP has gotten dragged in every other sub they've posted in, so I'm glad another person in higher ed agrees with him. I've been teaching in higher ed FT for about 10 years, and been adjuncting or student teaching since 2006. In my experience, a policy like this absolutely would not fly, especially considering how vague the penalties were. Hell, we've been told not to even restrict technology in our classes because so many students have accommodations for note-taking software, recording lectures, etc. Allowing a student to use their accommodations while no one else has them essentially outs them as having accommodations. This new policy the professor is trying to implement is clearly retaliatory. I've seen professors disciplined over crap like this too. He's trying to make the students too afraid to question him and it's a complete abuse of his authority. Reply. Thanks for this, LOL. I was surprised by how rule and punishment oriented the college subs are. Stories number 17. Aita for stopping my boyfriend's proposal at our best friend's wedding. I, F26, and my boyfriend, M25, attended a mutual friend's wedding. They're very close friends to us and brought my boyfriend and I together. My boyfriend and I are coming up on our 3-year anniversary and things were getting pretty serious. Enough so that I very much wanted to marry him. He's sweet, chatty, typically considerate and empathetic. He's the person who I thought was the first to show me what a truly healthy and compassionate relationship was like. He's very serious about us too. We've had long talks about marriage and it seemed we were in agreement with no formal declaration. We had even gotten as far as looking at rings. So the chance of a proposal was more of a when, not if. A few weeks before the wedding, us and the engaged couple at the time were hanging out. The topic of weddings was very prevalent and my boyfriend had cracked a joke about proposing at our friend's wedding. The to-be groom joked back and said that'd be funny as hell. This was followed by me and the to-be bride both shutting it down, trying to be serious but also not thinking he was serious. He was. During the reception, everyone had made their speeches and people were getting their food. While our table was waiting, my boyfriend went up to the DJ, and after, they played my boyfriend and I's favorite song to sing in the car together, Story of My Life by One Direction. I look at him, smiling and he's looking around. All of a sudden he grabs a fork, stands up and begins clanging on a glass. Immediately the whole dining room looks over. I stand up and whisper the words, not right now. His face drops and he yells a mix of, I'm sorry, I was just joking. After he sat back down I verbatim said, let them have their moment, let's make this our own. He wouldn't even look at me. When it was time to get our food he immediately goes toward the exit. I follow and tried to catch up to him but couldn't find him. I text him twice and call him a couple times, but got no answer, so I went back to the reception. After not hearing from him for about an hour and a half or so, he returns, sits down, and doesn't even look at me. The rest of the night was terrible. He looked like his dog just died and I'm trying to make the best out of the night, but felt like I was just in his shadow. I was prepping for a breakdown or maybe a fight in the car, but the only thing he said was, I don't want to talk about it right now. And the drive was just quiet and awkward. He sent me a long text about how hard it was to get the ring, how he felt rejected by his closest person and that I embarrassed him. I tried to explain that it's not that I didn't want to marry him. It was our best friend's wedding and they deserve their moment. That we should create our own and not piggyback off theirs. He got offended and said that if I wanted to marry him, I wouldn't have stopped his proposal in front of everybody. This situation perplexes me. I've never seen the appeal of proposing at someone else's wedding and tried to handle the situation in a way that I felt was calm and chill. But he's very adamant that I ruined the proposal, made him look like an asshole, and thus I'm the asshole. Am I missing something? Should I admit I was wrong and have just let his proposal go at our friend's wedding? Stories number 18. Aita for telling our friends the real reason we didn't save them seats at an event, even though it upset my husband. My husband and I attended a ticketed event that he had invited some of our friends to, we gave them the tickets. Our friends were running late, and I wanted to save them seats. There were plenty of available seats available, and many people were saving multiple spots, so it wasn't a situation where saving seats was against the rules or disruptive. My husband didn't want to save seats. He said it was rude to save that many, we had 6 friends coming, and told me not to micromanage an event he invited people to. I disagreed. I felt it was polite to save seats for people we invited, especially when it was clearly allowed and there were many available seats, but after he told me to sit down for a second time, I was like fine whatever, and I didn't save any seats. When our friends arrived, they were disappointed that they couldn't sit with us. At that point, there was still an option to move to another row so we could all sit together. Our row had empty spots, but it was that awkward thing where people sat 2, and then 1 empty seat type deal, but the only row with 6 seats together were 2 rows back, and my husband preferred the seats we already had. So we didn't move. We found 2 middle seats in front of us and told them why don't they sit there, but they said, no, it's okay, we'll sit here and save these for XX and YY, our 2 other friends who were also late to the event. I went up to them when we had all sat, event hadn't started yet, to make small talk, and they asked why we didn't save them seats. I told them truthfully, I wanted to save you seats, but, husband name, said it would be rude to. My husband was upset with me and said I threw him under the bus. He said I should have lied and said we tried to save seats but they got there too late, but that wouldn't have made sense since there were still many empty rows when they arrived, so we could have just moved and sat together. He feels I embarrassed him. From my perspective, I just didn't want to take responsibility for a decision I didn't agree with, and I low-key wanted him to understand that he was being unnecessarily petty for not saving seats. Anyways, he got very angry and said I threw him under the bus and that I should be a united front with him. I told him I can't be united and take the hit for something I disagreed with from the get-go. Stories number 19. I'm 28M, a somewhat popular YouTuber. My wife, 27F, deleted my recordings because she has never seen my crying and I'm unemotional. First of all, please don't ask me who I am and my YouTube alias. I want to keep this anonymous. And I have been married for 9 months, we've been together for 3 years. Our relationship has been pretty smooth, and I love her to bits. However, we have a big personality clash. We've lived with it in the past, but it's affected her more than it has affected me. I'm more of a keep it all in guy, and I prefer to deal with my issues by myself. She, on the other hand, talks about her issues with me, and we work through them together. I've always been a little cold, maybe steely is a better word. I'm not too emotional, not that it's a good or bad thing, it's just the way I am. My wife and I were forced to put down our dog recently. He was my dog before we met, but he became a big part of our family. She loved the hell out of that dog, and I did too. When I lived abroad for a year, he kept her company and she was very close to him. So, we came back from the vet, and she was crying all the way. I was feeling really sad, but I wasn't really showing it. She asked why I wasn't feeling sad, I told her I was. She started screaming at me for not having feelings, me being inhuman, me being cold, and her being scared of me for that. I told her that I cannot force myself to cry and I was feeling terrible inside. We get home and she went off about I'm barely human and I'm basically an automaton. She then went on and on about how she has never seen me cry. Not when we had broken up 1.5 years into our relationship, not when my mother died, not when I was leaving for a year to work abroad. I told her that me crying doesn't solve anything and she should quit bothering me. I went to bed. Next morning, I wake up and decide to edit some videos I wanted to upload. I work from home and I have one main computer to work from. It has 3 hard drives. The first one is my OS drive, the other 2 have recordings on them. I wake up to find the other 2 completely wiped. I freak out and irrationally think that it might have been some software or something. I try and see what the cause was, and I can't figure out anything. I had put in so much work recording these videos, so much effort had gone into them. I broke down. I had backed up only the recordings from 2 months ago. I'm sobbing hard and I just feel pathetic. I'd lost so much of my work and I couldn't figure out how. My wife then comes in, sees me. I tell her what happened. She tells me she did it. She wanted to see me cry and didn't know how else to make it happen. She's as happy she got to see that some part of me is human. She tells me it was healthy for me to let my emotions out. I swear to God, that's the first time I have ever wanted to hit her. I would have strangled her. I packed up a few things, laptop, phone, got in the car and told her that I'll call her when I am ready. I'm staying with a buddy of mine right now. And I need to figure this shit out. She was all apologetic and loving when I was leaving and was acting confused. I feel nothing but hatred towards her right now, but I need to be tactful in handling this situation right now. Help me figure it out. TLDR, I'm a YouTuber. My wife deleted my recordings from the last 2 months because she had never seen me cry and wanted me to let out my emotions. I kinda want to kill her right now. I want to know how to confront her. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. This is funny as hell, OP, but if it actually happened I would say that is grounds for a divorce, especially if you make a living from YouTube. That's a really childish and stupid way to handle her perception that you lacked emotion. Reply. I'm not kidding here. This is something terrible that's happened and it came out of the blue. I didn't expect her to do something as crazy as this. Commenter 2. This is all sorts of fucked up. Sorry OP, but she went about this all the wrong way and acted like she was 13. Seems a bit sadistic. You two definitely need counseling to recover from this. Reply. Right now, before I even think of saving my marriage, I want to know how to go about confronting her about this. I'm going to take a few days to cool off, because I'm mad to the point of physical violence right now. That's why I immediately left as soon as she told me. Commenter 3. If you would hit your wife over YouTube, and you're crying over YouTube more than you did your dog or mother, maybe you both are better off divorcing. Or someone who knows that is where your priorities lie and won't touch the work you do. Commenter 4. You confront her by saying, do you have any feelings about a divorce? Go ahead, let them all out. It's healthy for you. It's not about videos. It's about the absolutely ridiculous worldview she has. If you fall down and break your leg, will she keep hitting it until you show the amount of pain she feels is right? I wouldn't trust her with my property, my feelings, or my future. And if I can't trust my spouse, there's no point to the marriage. Reply. Texted her. I received a text. How are you feeling? I'm pissed, so I texted her. Hey. Do you have any feelings about a divorce? Go ahead, let them all out. It's healthy for you. Her response. Baby, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Leo died and I guess it was just too hard on me. I love you so much and I know what I did was terrible. Please forgive me and come home. I miss you. Let's just talk this through. Leo was our dog. Another text. Please don't do anything rash. We just got married. Why divorce? We have our entire lives ahead of us. Please don't let one mistake of mine ruin that future. I love you. I'm sorry. Please come home. Or at least tell me where you are. Update. A lot has happened. I'm not going to cover all the events of the past few days, but here's the most important stuff. Data. I had a friend hook me up to a local store that specializes in this. Proper recovery is expensive, but they said that since no data is rewritten, it's possible. Waiting to hear from them tomorrow. Divorce. I decided that I'm not going to ask for a divorce. What happened was bad, but not divorce-worthy. I want to give this a chance. Wife. I went back to her. She was crying. It looked like she had been for a long time. I went in and she hugged me and cried even more, apologizing profusely. When she got a little more stable, we talked. She started by saying that she understood how badly she fucked up. She said that I am well warranted to ask for a divorce. However, she said that she will never pull shit like this again and that she doesn't want to spend the rest of her life in regret. She begged me for one last chance. Having had a wonderful relationship before this, I decided that I wanted to give her another chance. I asked her to explain why she did what she did. She said that, first, Leo's death really got to her. Second, she confessed that she always felt like the weaker one in the relationship. She felt completely alone when she cried. I made a mental note to comfort her better when she's a little emotional. But she said that she understood right now. And she said that she felt terrible to engage in such power play, and that she understood that we're just different people. She told me she really regretted her actions and wanted one chance to make it up to me. Thanks for your help and suggestions. Note, the comments I made in the previous post, well, I was pissed, really angry, and also drunk. I thought about matters the next day and then took action. I can't believe I forgot to put this in. Marriage counseling, we're getting an appointment to get through this issue. TLDR, confronted wife rationally and we talked about the issue. Stories number 20. Aita for not caring that my ex is a deadbeat to his other kid but not mine and still letting him be in his life. I, 24F, have a son, 8M, with my ex, 25M. We broke up right after he was born when I was 16 and have co-parented him ever since. We lived in the same neighborhood so it made it really easy. After we became adults and moved out we still co-parent him fine and there isn't any issues. We can both show up to his events, throw a party together, etc. We're not friends and never talk to each other about our personal lives, and there's never been any issues. I'm also married and have another child. He isn't married. Back in November a girl DMs me and tells me that her and my ex had a baby together and he doesn't claim or take care of him. It was a long message with pics of her baby and texts included and all. She even sent me the paternity results and that he says her $350 in child support a month. She said his family knows and doesn't care. I was shocked he had another baby, especially one he isn't taking care of, and knew if my son didn't tell me, he must also not know, so this must be true. I spoke to my friends, family, and husband about it and they all told me to mind my business and that if he's a deadbeat to another child that has nothing to do with me or my son. One of my friends who's a single mom however told me that a man that picks and chooses which children he takes care of isn't a dad and that he's a deadbeat, and also that if he abandons my son I have no one to blame but myself since I was fine with him doing it to another child. That got under my skin, so the next time I saw my ex I told him about the DMs and he got upset and told me to mind my business. It was awkward and I didn't bring it up again. The girl DM'd me a few more times but I just ignored them. It was my son's birthday last week and his party was last Saturday. My ex and I threw it together, so he was there, his family was also there. We took family pictures including everyone and I posted some on my story. I woke up the next day to my Instagram notifications going crazy and so many people were commenting hate on my pictures. Come to find out the girl whose baby my ex doesn't take care of posted a TikTok about how my ex doesn't take care of her baby and didn't come to her son's first birthday party but he can take care of his other kid. She included a screenshot of the party I posted on my story which is how a bunch of people found me. Her video got thousands of views and 500 comments before she deleted it after I sent it to my ex, freaking out. All of them insulting me, saying if I was a good mom I wouldn't let my ex around my son for being a deadbeat. My account is now private but I'm still going through my comments deleting the hate, and all of them are mostly women saying that I'm a horrible mom for being okay with having a deadbeat around my son and I must feel so special he only takes care of my son and not hers. Aita. Stories number 21. I took my wife out for a motorcycle ride to lunch. We ended up somewhere I wish we hadn't. It was a perfect weekend, so naturally my wife and I did a bit of riding. We like riding two up and finding barbecue joints and little pubs along the way. I don't typically go to the hole-in-the-wall way out places and today was no exception. I am black, my wife is white. I chose a pub and grill that wasn't too far from home and wasn't too out in the backwoods. The bartender and server were super nice. The few people there didn't bother us. The food was okay. When I went to the bathroom before I left I saw the writing on the walls. Literally. Swastikas everywhere, the N-word with hard R on the walls. These were not new etches in the wall. Keeping these things up on the walls is saying something. I hated that I gave that place my money. I didn't tell my wife when we were leaving. The couple getting out of their truck as we were gearing up outside wouldn't acknowledge me at all. I don't know what prompted me to wave and smile at them, but their coldness made me feel even dumber. I wish I never went there. I snapped a quick photo above the urinal but I don't know how to post it here. Stories number 22. Aita for booking my son an eye exam just to settle an argument. I, 40-year-old man, have booked my son, let's say less than 10, a meeting with an eye doctor to settle an argument. Some context: my mother-in-law was once an eye nurse, she worked in the industry for ages and I am sure for everyone else other than family her opinion would be valid. However, she is also stubborn, a liar and one of those people who is never wrong. You can come at her with facts and she will just, oh well, if it was me, blah blah blah. So fast forward to my son. The school did an eye exam and sent him home with a slip saying we should get his eyes checked. So off to the mall I go and get his eyes tested, they come back with a -1.6. They did multiple tests, drops, scans etc. and a few weeks later, boom. He has glasses. Fast forward a few more weeks and almost everything the MIL takes the kid, she sneakily ensures my son doesn't have his glasses. She has even said on a few occasions, oh, you don't need those. What makes it worse is it bleeds over to my partner. She has started getting relaxed with my son's glasses and on occasions has taken him out some mornings without his glasses. I can't help but shake the feeling that the MIL and on some level my partner are hurt that I just acted and got him glasses. For some more context, my other son also has had glasses and has worn them for ages, so as soon as the other son's diagnosis came in I just acted as if no big deal. So here I find myself at the position that I want to sit down with my partner and an independent eye doctor and get their view if all this glasses on glasses off things are hurting his eyes or not. Thoughts? Just some added context. -1.5 means he is short-sighted and therefore can see his writing but stuff on the board could be fuzzy. Update. I realize my language term of boomer is causing some people harm. I apologize and will amend. Stories number 23. Aita for not letting my mom rewrite history and potential ruin the best thing that's ever happened to me. I, 24F, had a twin sister who tragically passed away from cancer when we were 15. We looked exactly alike, down to the tiniest detail. You know how some twins have subtle differences that make it easy to tell them apart? We didn't. The only difference was our personalities. I was the quiet, shy one. She was the loud, outgoing one, though not particularly well-liked. Before the cancer, my entire family knew that my sister had issues. Not to speak ill of the dead, but she was legitimately disturbed. She tortured animals, stole from vulnerable people, elderly, homeless, children, and I honestly believe that if she hadn't passed away, she would either be in jail for something horrific or dead in some other tragic way. After her death, my family collectively decided to never speak about it again. They pretend she was an angel who lit up our lives. I've always just gone along with that for the sake of peace. Anyway, I had my birthday party and my now fiancé, we've been together since I was 19, he's 2 years older, proposed to me. He never met my sister. During the party, my mom suddenly started talking about how much my sister would have loved to be there and began telling childhood stories, except she completely twisted them and made it sound like I was the crazy one who did all those horrible things. My fiancé just stood there in shock. I was speechless. We didn't cause a scene, we just exchanged a look like, WTF, and got through the rest of the party. When we got home, he told me he needed a break and couldn't be with someone who'd done those things. I tried to explain, but he thought I was just doing damage control and refused to listen. He packed a bag and left while I was crying my eyes out. He ignored all my calls and texts for days. I finally called my mom, begging her to tell him the truth, and she just said, leave it be. If he wouldn't accept you with your sister's faults, he wasn't worth it. I hung up on her and haven't spoken to her since. I finally said screw it. I logged into my sister's old Instagram account, we had the passwords growing up, where she used to post everything, from when she'd run away, to the messed up stuff she did. I drove to my fiancé's brother's house where he was staying, showed him the proof, and even got in touch with people from our past, old friends, family members, her nurse, and some of our former teachers. Everyone who responded confirmed that I was the normal twin and she was the disturbed one. My fiancé and I are fine now, still engaged. But now my mom is throwing a fit that I dragged the family name through the mud and says I don't deserve to be in love because my sister went through so much. I mean, it's pretty obvious now where my sister got her issues from. Some relatives and friends are saying I should have just told my fiancé the truth directly instead of involving his whole family. I didn't want any of them doubting me, especially with how believable my mom made her version sound. So Reddit. Aita for calling out my mom's lies and making sure my fiancé's family knew the truth, even if it meant airing some ugly history. Update, for the people saying this is AI, I wish LMAO. English is not my first language, RMO is. So all grammatical errors I used AI to fix so it could actually be read properly, but the story is 100% real. And for those saying I should leave my soon-to-be husband, I am not. In the moment he took my facial reaction in the wrong way and my silence was also weird and wrong of me. We've spoken and are fine. To those saying he's a shit person, he really is not. If someone told you your spouse was basically on track to becoming a serial killer, are you gonna be like, welp? Guess that's fine. No, you're gonna react badly. Update 2, I've decided to go LC with my mom until she shows actual change. My wedding isn't going to be for a while, so I don't have to start uninviting people yet. Those of you who said I should get my dad to help her get therapy, dad's not in the picture, so an aunt had agreed to help. I saw a comment that said make sure she knows I'm not naming my firstborn child after my sister made me laugh because I've been making that really clear since I was about 18. But yeah, that's all. I won't be updating or commenting anymore unless something crazy happens. Stories number 24. I'm either adopted or was switched at birth. I haven't told anyone but my brother and a cousin about this yet because I might be paranoid. Story is this. My maternal grandmother was the first generation to be born in Mexico since her parents came from Okinawa, Japan. My maternal grandfather is black, I don't know where his paternal family came from, and native to Mexico on his mother's side. My paternal grandparents were born in England and grew up in Spain but eventually ended up in Mexico, long story, where my dad was born. I was born and raised in Mexico. I knew I was indigenous but always believed I was mostly European and Japanese. I am white and a ginger. I dye my hair brown though because of bullying, but that's another story. My friends would even call me El Chino growing up because they said I looked Chinese or Korean. So I had never really doubted my ethnicity or my origins. Anyway, my brother and I took an ancestry and we just got our results back. We share Spanish and indigenous American blood, but he is like 20% Japanese and I got nothing. Not even 1%. I didn't get any percentage for Ireland and England either, but he did. I am mostly indigenous, over 70%, and our results say we are not a match, like we are not related at all. I compared then my results with a cousin on my dad's side and same thing. It says we are not a match, the only match we got was our grandparents' names on our family trees. But I am not related to her. So yeah, I don't know if this could be an error or a glitch or something. Or if it's possible to not have Japanese and English percentages at all and still be part of my family somehow. This is the first time I ever take an ancestry test, I might be looking at the wrong places. I'm not complaining about being mostly indigenous, I've always been proud of being native to these lands. I am just confused as to how I didn't inherit any Japanese or English blood if my parents' families came to Mexico not long ago, and how I'm supposedly not related to my own family. Is it really possible that I was adopted or switched at birth, because oh my gosh, where's the real me then? Note, I've attached some screenshots with my results and my brother and cousin's profiles saying we are not a match. I didn't post their results because I didn't get their consent to do so. I got consent for posting a picture of me and my brother though. I think we look alike a lot, I don't know how we are not related. Last 2 pictures is just me for reference. Editor's note, unable to recover the pictures. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You definitely need to talk to your parents about this. Did you tell your parents you took this test? Did they react at all? I definitely agree that you are either adopted or switched at birth or IVF baby. Also, was your brother English and African as expected, or were his results off as well? Reply. My brother was English, Irish, Japanese, Nigerian, native to Mexico and Spaniard. My parents knew about the testing thing because I sent my brother the testing kit to their house and my mom was the one who picked it up. She was excited about knowing our results and my dad even asked me why didn't I get him a test too. Him and my mom just asked me again yesterday. I told him about my results but not about me not being related to them. They didn't seem to be suspicious or anything. Commenter 2. I think switched at birth. You've got to get this sorted out. I'm sorry you're going through this. The nurses saw you probably looked very Asian at birth and got you mixed up. The actual Asian baby BC in their minds. How many Asian babies are there being born in Mexican hospitals at one time? They probably weren't careful. Reply. Now that would make sense, I consider it a huge possibility. I don't think I would mind as much being other people's biological child though, I'm a grown-up person with my own family. I think I'm more worried about my parents not knowing where their real baby is, that is if I was really switched at birth and this wasn't a lab mistake. I don't want to know how news like this would affect them. Commenter 3. Could also be a donated embryo, IVF. Reply. Could be, but I find it unlikely. I think I wrote it on another reply before. I am the 5th child out of 6 children my parents had. The kid on the picture with me is my baby brother, he was born 2 years after me. I don't think my mother had any reproductive issues or even the money to pay for a procedure like that. Although I think I'd rather be a donated embryo than a changeling. Update on the update about, I was either adopted or switched at birth. I couldn't edit the original post so I'm making a new one. My mother saw my previous post, she is a member of this sub, I didn't even know she had a Reddit account. I would like to apologize to her and my family for coming to Reddit before telling any of them and for posting screenshots of her results without consent. Neither of my parents have any idea how this messed up situation happened. We had a long conversation about all of this and are currently in contact with a search angel in the hopes we find some answers and hopefully the real me, their lost child. I meant to get some advice here before telling my family about this, but life had other plans and they now know. I only posted here to vent and to get an idea on how I should break the news to them. I was never planning on hiding it from my family. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Did you ever talk to your classmate who has the same birth date? That would be interesting if they were to take a DNA test. Reply. I did message him but he hasn't replied. It's been over 15 years since I last talked to him. He doesn't have any recent posts and I was thinking maybe he lost the password for that Facebook account or something. I don't have any other way to contact him but I'm still looking for profiles to see if he made a new one or something. There are just too many guys named Kevin in our hometown. Commenter 2. Reach out to your old classmates, somebody might have his phone number. Reply. I was trying to look for my old classmates too, no luck. He was the only one I had added because he was my buddy back then. I'm terrible with names and it's also been over a decade. For some of my classmates I only remember last names and for others nicknames or first names. I will keep working on that though. Commenter 3. From my understanding OP doesn't yet know who their bio parents are, they didn't have any really close DNA matches and still need help to work it out. Reply. Yes, but my matches are 5% or less and I can't contact them because they won't answer my messages. I'm not exactly sure 100% either how search angels work. If I did I wouldn't be needing one and I'd do the job myself. But what I get from my chat with them is that they have experience in building family trees based on DNA matches and public records. I was also told they have sometimes had to get court orders to unseal original birth records and stuff. I hope my explanation makes sense. Sorry I don't have all the information. I am learning as we go. Stories number 25. Aita for refusing to met the biological child I do not claim, posted March 13, 2025. When I, 28M, was 16 I was groomed later SA'd, by today's standards, by my manger 23F at the time. She had gotten pregnant. Now that child has reached out to me. It has gotten to the point that they are stalking me online. The mother contacted my girlfriend who is rightfully upset. It feels like they took away our safety. I have become paranoid in public. Everyone that I talked to about this, including my boss since he noticed my work has been slacking, has told me that I owe this child a meeting. That every child has the right to know who their parents are. I disagree. I wanted nothing to do with that child when I was 16 and still do not want to be involved. My girlfriend thinks if I met him all this would be over. I think they will want more from me. I feel like this makes me an since I also never financially provided and most likely won't. I want this to stop. Update. To start, I was not and still am not on the right headspace to revisit trauma that occurred 12 years ago. I also know that there are freaks who only want more details about the SA rape to wank off to. To clarify, I grew up in a Catholic household, the fourth child out of 12. Being born a male meant at 16 it was required by my parents that I get a job to help financially put food on the table. At 16 we, siblings, were taught abstinence until marriage. That any sexual act violates our body and breaks the trust and bond towards our future spouse in the eyes of God, which is why I never proposed to my girlfriend. We were never taught to not trust adults. Our parents failed to teach us consent, power dynamics, and grooming tactics. I was a prime target. The grooming started with attention I liked as I didn't get it from home. Positive affirmations about my work. Soon there were friendly lunches. I mean, to me at 16 we were friends eating lunch together. Nothing strange. She gifted me clothing, that is when I felt uncomfortable. The clothes stayed in my closet until one of my siblings started wearing them. Nobody in my household questioned where the clothes came from. I tried to make excuses as to why I couldn't be alone with her. I have too much work right now. Eventually she called me into her office and asked if I knew the age of consent. I didn't. 16 is the answer. She admitted to being attracted to me. That if I was to keep being a man and providing for my family I would do as she instructed. I didn't say no or fight back. I was scared of losing my job. I was terrified of my parents finding out. I blamed myself for having my virginity stolen. We now know that cases of SA and rape are difficult to prosecute. The victim's testimony is what matters the most. I was a male, so I had that against me. I didn't fight back or say no. Clearly that means I wanted it, right? I wanted to brag to my peers. What peers? My siblings. Other children that attended the church, about bagging some hot 23-year-old that I worked for. Society 12 years ago viewed male victims differently than they do now. The guilt of sinning had eaten at me. I went to confession and told everything. I was told by the church to remain hushed. I was silent for 12 years. Now my parents know and they resent me for denying them a relationship with their grandchild. My siblings want to stay away from their children. I asked my girlfriend for space so she isn't a casualty in my shit trauma. My boss reached out and apologized for what he had said in the moment. He thought about it and realized that he may have negativity affected me. He also offered to pay for my mental health care at the really nice facility he found that specializes in rape trauma. He reassured me that my job with his company is secured. I may take his offer. Reading some of these comments I realized that I am not okay. I also reached out to my cousin's wife, divorce lawyer. She says if I take any legal action the outcome may not be what anyone wants. The word would get out and that child will also be known as having a child rapist for a mother along with a dad who left them. She is preparing medical records to send over and a verbal warning about the online stalking. I don't know who is behind the screen. A tech-savvy 11 to 12-year-old wanting answers or her using this opportunity to victimize me again. Either way, no matter what I choose, I will be considered an with trauma and that child will have some sort of trauma as well. Top comment, posted same day as post. OP, this comment section is a mixed bag. Here's my take. Lock down your entire online persona. Every single account. Set them all to private friends only. Comb through your friends list and followers, remove anyone you do not know personally. You want to have your entire online presence be that of a silhouette. there, but difficult to see the details of. Make it as hard as possible for them to see any details about you, except for your name. I remember how it felt. Edit, thank you for the awards and upvotes, everyone. Bottom comment, posted same day as post. Legally nope morally kinda the ethically. YTH. She has destroyed 2 lives. The child is looking for guidance into becoming a man. You don't have to bond with him. Do need to get a medical history put together. For the purpose of questions later in life. Also you would not have to worry about future interactions. Have they contacted your parents? This is a tough one. My suggestion is to FaceTime the first meeting gauge from there. Video call can be terminated quickly. Wish you luck dude. Update, refuse to meet child I don't claim. The support I have received on my post was overwhelming. To find out that this post has been shared to FB, TikTok, and other media sites has me feeling so grateful. No words can describe how the comments helped heal that damaged 16-year-old. I had read some of the most beautiful replies from a variety of individuals. Mothers, fathers, grandparents, expressing how much they wished they could have hugged and comforted me, since my parents and other adults in my life had failed me. Victim survivors sharing their experience and relating to how I felt offering comfort and advice. To lawyers explaining what steps I can take legally to protect myself. I have no words to describe the gratitude. Thank you everyone for the support. The most important part of this update is yes, the mandatory DNA test confirmed that child is biologically mine. Since another man had legally adopted him, I am not obligated to pay child support. I also have a cease and desist order in place. My lawyer handed over my medical history. As for my personal life, I had more downs than ups. Starting with having to check out of the facility so the company I work for doesn't fall behind. The temp that was hired cannot keep up with the workload and the option was to take my job back or be hired to a different position for the company at a later date. I still attend therapy sessions and found a therapist that I trust. My girlfriend is now an ex. She ended the relationship since she couldn't watch me self-destruct. I don't blame her. She is doing well and her new boyfriend treats her great. I wish them the best. Since she left, I was able to downgrade my 2-bedroom to a 1-bedroom. The apartment manager was very helpful and understanding. He even waived the pet fee since I also got a dog. She was found around the office and became the office dog before I took her home. We named her Tuna Can and she is always welcome at the office for work. I am happy to have her as my companion. This is the more rough part of the update. My mother took it upon herself to trick me into seeing her at a restaurant which she happened to invite the child to. I walked out. I made it clear in my letter that I sent with my medical history that I didn't want a relationship and listed my reasons. I explained that his existence is my trauma. I stated that I was not his dad and I choose not to be. The man who adopted him is and he's doing a great job. Since she did this, I cut my parents from my life. I do not need toxicity while I work on my mental and spiritual health. Top comment. Your mom's a real piece of work. You made the right choice cutting her out after that stunt. Best of luck to you with navigating this situation. Bottom comment. I'm going to take a different approach. While your mom was a piece of work manipulating you into seeing your biological child, and while you may not want a relationship, maybe your child does. Stepfather may be nice but your bio dad. How many TV shows are there where adult kids try to find the parent that gave them up just looking for answers? Maybe instead of cutting it off completely you go to therapy and consider how to address the child you gave up, and what happens if when they are older they seek you out. Change your perspective and think of the kid a little. Stories number 26. Aita for not defending my parents or my brother when my parents were accused of favoritism and my brother was accused of being an attention hog. My parents have always favored my brother, 17M, over me, 15M. There are so many examples I could give but I'll just list a few ways because the point of the post is someone else has called them on it. My parents talk about my brother more, they invest more time in supporting his interests, they put more money into raising him and they have way more photos of him than me. My brother's bad about it because any time I get any attention he'll bring up something he did to get attention on him again. Or he'll do something in front of everyone to get people's attention on him. He does it every single fucking time. He even does this shit in school. He said some random shit before to get attention off me and onto him. Our extended family will typically let him hog the attention when he starts. So this past Saturday my parents had their families over for a party to welcome my dad's youngest brother home. He went all over the word for the last 10 years. He was talking to me and my brother interrupted with stuff about himself. My uncle tried to bring it back to me but my brother kept interrupting. Eventually my uncle took me to grab some ice cream for everyone since my parents forgot and we talked on the car ride and in the store. When we got back my brother went through all his football achievements. When my uncle was talking to my parents he asked about us both but they only answered about my brother and they ignored him when he asked about me. Eventually he cracked a joke that it must be strange to have some random kid living with them and that made them defensive and they asked what it was supposed to mean. He said they act like my brother is their only child and I'm just other. He mentioned the house only showing one kid, the fact that they had nothing to say about me and ignored any questions he asked about me. My brother told our uncle that there's just more interesting and worthwhile stuff to say about him and then he repeated stuff he told him earlier when my uncle and I were talking. Which is when my uncle called him an attention hog. Things were getting more and more awkward but I loved it. I loved hearing someone finally call them on it. My parents tried to defend the three of them but my uncle was brushing it off. My parents tried to make me defend the three of them but I ignored them. Nobody else said anything and my uncle gave me his number before he left and we've texted a bit since. My parents were so mad at me for not defending them and my brother. They keep telling me I owe them an apology and how I need to do better. I told them it should be them doing better and they told me no, I should defend my family against unfair accusations. Stories number 27. My boyfriend said I should maintain my figure because he considers himself a high-value man. I recently moved in with my boyfriend, just a week ago and I've started to see a troubling side of him. Since the move, he's been controlling about how I dress, how I style my hair, and he's even told me not to go out alone. He's pressured me to cut ties with close friends as well. We've only been together for 6 months. Lately, he told me to stop eating dinner because, according to him, he has the right to be selective about his partner's appearance due to being a high-value man. For context, he earns a decent income, not wealthy or anything extraordinary. The strange part is, I've maintained the same body since we started dating. He used to compliment me all the time, calling me beautiful and sexy. I don't understand where this is coming from. I still have my own job and cover my personal expenses, but he insisted I move into his place and live rent-free. At the time, I felt like a generous offer but now, it seems like it was meant to give him control. I spoke to my mom, and she believes I need to leave him immediately. She called him a dangerous psychopath. I'm reaching out here because I'd like to hear from others too. Just to clarify, I'm not overweight. I have an athletic build and I'm only about 15 pounds above the normal BMI range. Stories number 28. My sister told me something while she was drunk. What do I do? Do I just leave it? I was drinking with my older sister one night. We don't see each other very often since she lives in another city, so I went to visit her and have a night out. While drunk, my sister had asked, "Do you remember when you had those dreams of me covering your mouth and nose?" That question scared me because how did she know about that? When we were kids I kept dreaming she was suffocating me in my bed and her hands were over my face. I always woke up crying and couldn't be consoled. I even remember being terrified of my sister at one point because those dreams felt too real. So I nodded, she started crying and held my cheeks, staring at me. That wasn't a dream. I'm sorry, it wasn't a dream. I'm sorry, she kept repeating that so many times I started shaking. She then told me she was suicidal at that time because of how our parents and the adults in our lives were treating her. She was scared they'd treat me like that too, so she tried to take me with her. Now that night passed, we haven't said anything about our conversation. I feel that fear all over again as I didn't think I'd ever think about those dreams again. Yet, I feel so bad I didn't know about how she was feeling when we were kids. What to do? Stories number 29. Aita for telling my dad to never contact me again after he chose his wife's mom over me. Hi everyone, 17F, I'm only really posting this since my dad's family and even my mom are telling me that I'm in the wrong. My parents got divorced when I was 12 and they had 50-50 custody, so I would stay with my dad for a week then my mom. When I was 14 my dad got married to my stepmom, I refer to her as his wife, and I would only see them on the weekends until they moved and I only saw them whenever they visited. My mom got full custody. Anyways, last month they moved back to our city and got a 2-bedroom house. My dad had promised me the room before he moved back and told me he could do 50-50 again if me and my mom were okay with it, and we were. I was so excited and even picked out furniture and bought stuff to decorate it. Anyways, they move into the house and invite me. They give me a tour and show me my room. I asked when I could start putting things in it, and that's when they told me that they were actually going to give the room to his wife's mom, and since I was going away to college soon, it wasn't like I was going to use the room much. They also told me that instead of staying the full week that I can go on the weekends and sleep on their couch if I wanted to. I said no to that and texted my mom to pick me up. It's been a month and I ghosted my dad fully. He even came to try to talk to me but I was at school. He's been contacting my mom too, which he hates doing. So I just decided that I didn't want to be in his life anymore or have him in mine, even though I barely did. I talked to my mom, and for someone who hates my dad, she told me that I should just talk to him and spend time with him since I barely got to for 2 years. I just decided to cut him off. It sounds impulsive, I know, but I sent him a long message detailing how emotionally neglected and unwanted he made me feel and to never contact me again. I blocked him and blocked his side of the family. In the morning my mom woke me up at 5 a.m. and asked what I did. Almost my dad's entire family have been blowing up her phone asking what she said did that made me want to cut off my dad. During school I even got a few messages from my cousins on Insta that I forgot to block insulting me. My mom showed me some of the messages and some are insulting both of us. My dad even sent a message apologizing to me and said I broke his heart. His wife is sending disgusting messages towards my mom. I feel awful because I didn't expect them to attack not only me but my mom, harshly at that. I feel like I messed up and want to know if what I did was the right thing. Small update, my mom talked to my dad and set up a time to talk tomorrow after school. My mom's making me talk to him and reconcile but I really don't want to. I'm trying to convince her not to force me to go but she's threatening to take away my phone laptop that I need for school and other things. I'll update you guys tomorrow. Update, Aita for telling my dad to never contact me again after he chose his wife's mom over me. I met with my dad. Hi guys, right now I'm at a friend's house and going to stay the night. If you guys saw the small update I did on my last post, my mom was making me see my dad in person today to try and reconcile. She was threatening to take away things I need and use like my phone, so I had to go. After school she picked me up and we drove to his house. I made sure to try and mentally prepare what I wanted to say do. I really didn't want to talk to him but since I was forced I decided to take some advice from my last post and basically just talk about times I felt neglected and why I wanted to cut him off, including the harassment from his family. When I got there, I thought it was just going to be him, me, and mom but I was wrong. My mom came inside with me, but my dad told me to sit in the dining room and wait. They stayed talking at the door and I went to the dining room. My dad's wife, who I'll just call Becca since it's close to her name, and her mom were sitting there. They told me to sit down while we wait for my dad. These women looked so angry at me and I felt uncomfortable. I sat and was on my phone and I could just feel and see them staring. I wanted to get up and leave but my dad eventually came and sat down. He told me we needed to talk but I asked him where my mom was and he said that she left. I asked why and he ignored me. Then he started talking about how sorry he was for what I felt but that Becca's mom wanted the room and she already broke her lease from her apartment, and was thinking of quitting her job. Guys, this lady is 53 and acts like she's my age. She's gotten fired from all her jobs or quit because they were hard. For everyone thinking of a small frail old lady, you're wrong. Picture someone who loves Vegas, drinking and party. There you go. I was mad. They all took turns talking and basically said words that mean, we're sorry if you're upset but you're dramatic and you being dramatic affects us so we'll give you a bunch of excuses and make you seem like the bad guy. I just wanted to leave so I said something like, this isn't just because of the room, it's the promises that were broken and how you treat me, and I gave examples of things he's done that hurt me, including the harassment, and when I mentioned it, Becca snorted and rolled her eyes at me and told me that I'm being dramatic with the word harassment, and it was towards my mom and not me. Me and Becca got into an argument, but it was more like me going okay sure, but you still did this, and her excusing it and raising her voice. I decided to end that and just tell them that I'm not going to reconcile with them. If I have to talk to them in the future I will only if necessary, but for now, I don't want to build a relationship since we haven't had one in years. When I asked when my mom was coming back, they told me she wasn't until Monday. This is when I got really upset and went outside. I didn't want to be inside or around them anymore and I texted my mom for an hour straight. I even walked to a small plaza nearby just so I could be away from them. My mom didn't answer and it was getting late. I didn't want to involve my friends or anything but it seemed like the only choice, so I asked one of my friends if she could come pick me up and if I can stay with her. She said yes and now I'm at her house. She's doing homework right now so I'm just in her living room watching TV waiting for her to be done. Her mom told me I can stay the whole weekend if I'm okay with going to church on Sunday and can borrow my friend's clothes. I texted my mom and let her know I'm staying with a friend and I still haven't heard back from her. I think she turned her phone off. Honestly, I want to cry out of anger. I'm so confused as to what happened. I'm mad, very mad but also very numb. I don't know what this means. I left my mom voicemails crying asking why she left and wasn't picking up and venting to her, so I guess maybe I feel numb because of that. Who knows, I'll try to give you guys an update but who knows what that will be. Edit, I have an update posted on my account between me and my mom. Update 2, Aita for telling my dad to never contact me again after he chose his wife's mom over me. I'm being forced to stay with my dad. Hi guys, I'm sorry for not updating sooner, my mom took away my phone and laptop. Things got really bad when I went back home. For a few hours after school it was fine, until me and my mom got into an argument during dinner. I hadn't talked to her much until this, but I decided to talk to her about her actions and she got really defensive. I just asked a few questions and she seemed irritated and yelled at me because I was interrogating her. She took away my phone and laptop despite knowing I need both of those things for emergencies and because almost all of my school assignments are on there. I begged her but she didn't listen, and the next day, my first period teacher had me go borrow a Chromebook which I had to return by the end of the day so I couldn't do my homework that was due the next day. Usually I have at least an hour worth of homework due the next day. So the next day, my first period teacher pulled me aside after class and asked why I wasn't bringing my laptop or homework. I told her what happened and she sent an email to my mom later on. I had to basically tell all my teachers what happened to get extensions on homework, and when I got home my mom told me about the email and said that she would give me my laptop back only for school and an hour after school for homework in exchange for almond milk. She told me that she would stop buying almond milk, which I got upset at. For reference, I'm lactose intolerant and like most people I love things with dairy but don't want what comes with them. It tastes good and makes a good substitute for milk even if it tastes a little off. I was somewhat okay with it. It sounds like a stupid punishment but it did make me upset. Anyway, that was how things were until Friday when my mom went through my laptop and found out I was going on Insta, Spotify and YouTube when I was using my laptop. I guess I wasn't supposed to do this even though she didn't tell me. We had an argument after school and we just argued all day. At night after I went to shower, I caught her trying to take my door off. We had like a huge argument. At this point I was mad, like really mad. Her boyfriend was there too and he was defending her, so I told them I was just going to leave and find somewhere else to stay. My mom told me that I couldn't leave and if I wanted to leave then I would have to go to my dad's, and I said no and would just rather stay there, but I guess she changed her mind because after some time, I was in my room just trying to calm down. I was listening to music before my mom came into my room and told me to go to the living room where my dad was. They both told me I had to pack a bag cause I was going to stay with him for the weekend. I told them I didn't want to and my mom told me I had to since they changed something with the custody agreement. They didn't tell me much about that but basically they were forcing me. I did eventually pack and was just planning on leaving again since my mom gave me my phone and laptop back, but when I got in the car with my dad he said he would call the cops next time and tell them I ran away and I would get in trouble. He also said I wasn't allowed to leave and that he would sell my belongings if I did. So I had to stay. It was like 11 p.m. at this point on Friday night, so when we got there he told me the couch was a pull-out and gave me the sheets and stuff for it, then showered and fell asleep. Everyone else was asleep at this point and I've never been in his house long enough to know where everything was. I also didn't know how to pull the couch out or where the remote was, so I slept with my laptop on the floor next to me. The next morning, they told me that they had like a small storage room that I can be in when I'm there and can sleep on the couch. They showed me it and it was like a tiny room but it had a light and it wasn't the worst since it also had an outlet, so I pretty much just spend the whole day here. They didn't even bother me and my dad just texts me for dinner. Also I had to unblock him and Becca. I even slept here and I'm in here right now too. I only leave if I have to or get called out. I'm making an update finally because I know a lot of people want one. I know this isn't resolved but my dad told me I'm going to have to come here every weekend now until I go to college. I don't want to, but I kind of have no say at this point since my mom also agrees and I'd get in trouble if I don't. Tomorrow he says that my mom can pick me up after school and I can stay with her, so I guess I'm just forced to go. I don't know, I guess I'm just stuck seeing my dad, which I don't want to be around at all, and my mom's just making me. Just 3 more months, guys. Stories number 30. I used to walk around with a broom and steal rich patrons' cash, literally, right from under them. I used to work at a very busy bar club in one of the world's leading tourist destinations. When I started, the place was always so busy that we needed 2 to 3 staff to specifically pick up empty glasses. That's how busy we were, nothing dining related, just glass as dining was owned privately. I even became a tourist attraction and would get asked for photos because I could carry 63 in one hand. This includes 3 different glass sizes x50, up to 10 wine glasses, and 5 jugs in one hand. Due to being a flash tourist destination, people splashed around a lot of money, sometimes even dropping notes as they sat down, and we would have to let them know and give them their money. Fuck that. I would walk around with a broom and catcher and literally sweep money from under them, into the catcher in blatant view. It started with like $10 notes, some nights you'd get like $40-60 AUD. Then comes 9 p.m., club turns into full nightclub mode, where people are way drunker and dropping a lot of money. I'd bartend for a bit and specifically give them their change in small notes for more available chances to drop money. Then it got out of hand. I was sweeping up bundles of $50 notes right from literally under their nose. When my broom was in use, I'd pretend to accidentally slide a glass off the table so I had a reason to bend down and grab the money. I was clearing $600 to $800 on weekend night or most nights during holiday season. I never let anyone know as I'd have to divide it against everyone if the owner wasn't found. Don't even start me on slot machines. Rich truck drivers and patrons would pump money through our slots. It got to a point where when I would go to pay out someone's machine, I'd give them their lump sum and say, sorry. You won all the money. Haha, the rest is in smaller notes. Sorry. Smaller notes usually were just given back as a tip. I made more from picking up money than I did from actually working. Probably not that saucy, but I loved it. Stories number 31. AIO for telling my wife to never take our son to that doctor again. Our baby is sick. He's getting better now, just a cold, but his cough and sore throat was pretty bad. My wife took him to the doctor whilst I was at work. My wife mentioned in passing afterwards that the doctor suggested giving him honey. My wife said she wouldn't risk that as he is only 9 months old. The doctor was confused and actually Googled it right in front of my wife. The doctor said she never knew honey was unsafe for infants and was all casual about it. Like, oh well, you learned something new. On hearing this from my wife, who also was pretty casual about it, I was somewhat disturbed and said that our son would not be seeing that doctor again as she is clearly incompetent. I think that is something you really should know as a doctor. Now she's a GP, not a pediatrician, but still, a doctor should definitely know that honey is unsafe for babies. I know it and I knew it before I even had kids and I'm a mechanic. My wife played it down like it is no big deal, but I was saying it is quite disturbing and I don't want him to see that doctor again. Stories number 32. Aita for telling my husband I'll divorce him after finding croutons in our baby's formula. This morning, I, 31F, woke up to find my husband, 43M, not in our bed. I figured he fell asleep on the couch like he often does after drinking. I was slightly annoyed because he's responsible for bringing the baby monitor into our room with him since he stays up much later than me. Since he didn't come in our room, the baby monitor never did either, and our 9-month-old is getting over an ear infection and has been waking up crying once a night. I can't hear this without the monitor as both doors are shut and I have a fan running. As I was making the baby's bottle this morning, I opened the pantry to find a bag of croutons I made inside the formula with a few croutons loose in the formula and the top to the formula gone. I became instantly furious. For context, before we had our kids, a toddler and the infant, my husband said he'd stop drinking once we had kids. When I was pregnant with our first, I'd wake to a loud noise and would walk out to find my husband passed out on the floor, being so intoxicated he fell asleep on a chair sitting up and fell onto the floor and still did not wake up. This happened at least 3 times. Since then, I found him passed out on the couch several times, and passed out in the toilet a handful of times. On New Year's Day we had a serious talk about him needing to slow down, stop the drinking, as I was at my wit's end with it. I told him if we had to have this talk again, it would be a much different talk. Since then, I found him on the toilet at least once, and just 6 weeks ago woke up one morning thinking a homeless person rummaged through our cupboards. There was lettuce all over the kitchen, a cereal bag looked like someone chewed through it to open it and then poured a bowl onto the floor, and I found my raincoat soaking up a random mess in the entryway. I'm not joking when I say I checked the security cameras thinking someone broke in and had a feast while we slept. He tried to blame it on the 2-year-old, but the folded up cereal box was a dead giveaway. So that brings me to today. He told me he had 2 drinks and didn't know how he ended up in the guest bedroom, or why, and thought it was our bed. But the guest bed didn't even have any sheets or pillowcases on it. Then finding the croutons was really just the tipping point. I confronted him and told him what I found and that there's no way he only had 2 drinks and ended up doing this. He's 6 feet 4 inches, 265 pounds. He swears that's all he had, and I told him if he doesn't stop drinking, I'm filing for divorce. He went to work and we finally just talked after the kids went to bed. He said I'm overreacting, he doesn't have a problem, and it's not fair to give him that ultimatum. I told him it's my life too and I don't have to stay in a marriage where I don't like the level of drinking, especially with 2 young boys. I agree, I could have waited until tonight to have a better talk, but I think he needs to know how serious I am in order for him to make a change, otherwise, I'm keeping my word and will file. So, Aita. Stories number 33. Aita for refusing to be the designated driver because I wanted to enjoy the party too. I, 27F, was invited to a friend's birthday party last weekend. It was at a bar, and I was really looking forward to it, catching up with friends, having fun, and just enjoying a night out. A few days before the party, my friend Sarah, 28F, messaged me asking if I could be the designated driver. She's had some issues with drinking and driving in the past, and since I don't drink often, I've been the driver for her before. But this time, I wasn't feeling it. I've been working long hours lately, and the idea of staying sober all night while everyone else got to have fun just didn't sound like a good time to me. I politely told Sarah I wouldn't be able to drive this time and suggested she either take a cab or ask someone else. She got really upset and said it was just one night, and that I was being selfish by not helping her out. She even said I don't care about our friendship, because I wouldn't sacrifice my own fun for hers. The rest of our friend group has been messaging me, saying I should just help out because it's no big deal. But honestly, I'm tired of always being the responsible one, and I wanted to enjoy myself too. Aita for refusing to be the designated driver. Stories number 34. Aita, my partner pays rent in my property. I, 31F, own a property that me and partner, 31M, and our baby daughter live in. We split all bills 50-50 even though he earns more. I also buy her clothes, pay her swimming lessons and all the bits I notice that she needs. He has lived here for 2.5 years and I have lived here 5 years. I moved out of my parents when I was 17 and I worked my ass off to buy the place by myself 5 years ago. I was paying rent and saving for a mortgage at the same time. It was hard work and took dedication as I did not get any financial help. He has asked to be added to the mortgage as he has been contributing here, monthly payments only. He says he is entitled to a share and his family have been doing research on that. I feel hurt that they would do that. It feels like I'm not sure if I can trust him or them now. I haven't had an easy journey to get to the security that I built for myself and I can be a bit overprotective about that, especially now I have a child and inevitably I want to build her future too. I'm very careful not to put myself in vulnerable positions but now I feel I'm vulnerable. We have really disagreed on this, and he has moved out. Morally I find it wrong that the father of my child, and his family would support him taking from me and his daughter. He said that would never happen, but why would they research it? And also, I'm not putting someone on the mortgage who does not have any actual investment to put down. It feels like he wants an easy ride to the property ladder. Am I wrong to be upset? Am I the AH? Edit 1, he has said he wouldn't expect half, but he would want back what he has put in. I explained that's not how rent works. Even if we had an agreement where he would get it back, I'm more concerned about his morals of being okay with taking it from me when I have had his child and am providing a secure home. Edit 2, some people are saying about charging your partner rent is not very romantic. Can I ask you to consider the alternative? I work hard to buy a property by myself without any help. A man who has not done this gets to live for free and keeps his money. What's your opinion on that? Is that fair? Stories number 35. AIT4, parenting my best friend's kid at the park. So I, 31F, have been best friends with Carter, 32F, since junior high. We're super close and our kids are too. I have a 3-year-old daughter, Eliana, and she has a 4-year-old son, Levi. We hang out at the park a couple times a week and just let the kids run around while we catch up. For some background, Carter and I have really different parenting styles. I don't yell or raise my voice. I grew up in a house with a lot of yelling and I'm just not about that life. I try to stay calm and firm without being scary. Carter is more direct and intense with Levi. That's her style and I've never judged her for it. Every kid is different and we're all doing our best. So this happened earlier this week. We were at the park, sitting on a bench a few feet away from the sandbox while the kids played. We were talking about Eliana's birthday when suddenly I heard Eliana scream crying. I jumped up and went over to check on her. She was holding her head and told me Levi had thrown a bucket at her. I pulled her hand away from her head to see if there was a cut or a bruise but she was fine. I got down to Levi's level and asked what happened. He said Eliana wasn't letting him have a turn so he threw the bucket at her. I told him calmly that it wasn't okay to throw things and asked him to apologize, which he did. Then I told Eliana that she needs to share and take turns and asked her to say sorry too. They both apologized, gave each other a hug, and I asked if they could play nicely now. They both said yes and seemed fine. I went back to the bench and Carter asked what happened. I told her and she immediately gave me attitude and said, "I don't appreciate you parenting my child." I said, "I wasn't parenting Levi. It's not okay that he threw a bucket at her. It's not okay he throws anything at anyone." She rolled her eyes, "He's a boy. Boys will be boys." I got kind of defensive and said, "Boys will be boys isn't an excuse or a pass to hurt someone else." At that point I was over it. I walked over the kids, picked Eliana up and told her to say bye to Levi, grabbed our stuff, and we left. Later that night I told my husband what happened. He agreed with me and said I wasn't wrong for stepping in, but he also said maybe I shouldn't have corrected Levi myself and should have called Carter over instead. He suggested inviting her over to smooth things out. We kind of agreed to disagree on that. I really don't think I scolded him. I stayed calm and just dealt with what was happening right in front of me. I did what I thought was right in the moment. And honestly, I don't see a problem with how I handled it. So, Aita, update. First off, I want to thank everyone for their input, kind words, and some wake-up calls. It gave me a lot to think about before I attempted to call and mend things with Carter because I was still feeling very upset. I got the chance to speak with Carter and explain to her that the way that things went down and the words exchanged could have been prevented on both sides. I explained to her that me trying to resolve the issue between Elle and Levi wasn't meant to come off like I was undermining her parenting or anything of that sort. I also explained that when she gave me an attitude about not parenting her child and then defending myself, I was met with an attitude and dismissed with, "Boys will be boys," that really hurt me a lot. I made her understand how hurtful that phrase is and how it sounds like an excuse for her son's behavior, because to me boys being boys are boys getting dirty, finding bugs and being rambunctious, not physical with another child. She agreed and apologized for the way she handled it. She said she should have got up to check on the situation instead of just sitting there. I told her that we may not see eye to eye in every parenting situation, but we're always on each other's side when it comes to our babies. I always want the best for you and Levi. I also apologized for getting up and leaving without talking about. I should have stayed and talked with her about it, but her attitude made me upset, and for the sake of her head not meeting with a bucket, I left. We're okay now and things have been smoothed over. I forgive but I don't forget. I think this is also a wake-up call for her as well. I hope she really understands her words and attitude have actions. For the time being I'll have some outdoor time with Elle until I'm feeling ready to meet back with Carter and Levi. Thank you again everyone. Stories number 36. Aita for not wanting my in-laws and their kids coming to my house again. I got married a couple of years ago, and invited my husband's entire family over for our first Christmas as a married couple. I thought it would be so much fun to host the whole family, parents, siblings, nephews, everyone. But it turned into a Christmas from hell, mostly due to our young nephews and my in-laws' lack of parenting them. They're incredibly rambunctious, which I understand to a degree, but the problem is that their parents don't parent them at all. They let them run wild in my house, at restaurants, in public, wherever. It's exhausting and embarrassing. They're about kindergarten age. During that Christmas visit, the kids broke a sentimental, irreplaceable antique piece of furniture. It was a European grandfather clock my great-grandmother handed down to me, by yanking and climbing on it. Wood and glass, and the inner clock mechanics were shattered. I truly don't know how they managed to damage it so badly, so quickly. They went to a room no one else was in where they shouldn't have been, and their parents lost track of them until they heard the big crash. The BIL made a joke right after to ease the tension, I guess, but it just further infuriated me that he was making light of the situation. My husband and I were fuming, but we're still trying to be gracious hosts. Before the visit ended, the BALSAL pulled my husband aside to say they felt bad. They said nothing to me. To make things worse, no one from my husband's family offered to help with anything through the whole Christmas visit. As a host, I'm always excited to cook and entertain, but I also expect basic politeness, like people offering to bring their plates to the kitchen or offering to help clean up. It's just common courtesy. But no one in my husband's family did any of that. No one even really spoke to me much, besides surface-level pleasantries, during the whole visit. And now I'm starting to wonder, do these people seriously have zero manners? I see how the rest of the family interacts with others in public, and they're very gracious and polite. So now I'm wondering if they pick and choose who to be decent to. Now fast forward, the BIL and family want to come visit again and the kids apparently miss our house. We have a nice house, so I get why the kids liked it. But the last time they were here, besides the clock being busted, my TV was a close call. They were touching the art on the walls, jumping all over the furniture, and again zero correction from the parents. We visited them recently in their city, and it was the same story. We took them out to a nice restaurant, my husband and I found and reserved it, and the kids showed up in Halloween costumes. They flung food, were consistently loud throughout the meal, and worst of all, their parents insisted they order for themselves, so the poor server had to sit there and wait for their toddler to finish mumbling incoherently. It was a busy dinner service and my husband and I were so embarrassed by the kids' behavior as well as the parents not controlling their kids in public. Later in the dinner, the younger nephew spilled nearly an entire glass of water on me. Okay fine, it's just water, but I didn't love that I was soaked, obviously. The SIL must have noticed the not-so-thrilled expression on my face in that moment, and immediately snapped at me, "It's just water, it will dry." After we paid the check, the kids were running around, throwing their toys around, and physically bumping into other patrons. The kids' behavior has clearly not improved. At this point, I've told my husband that I'm fine visiting them in their home, but staying in a hotel and ordering food in. I don't want to be out in public with them and I don't want their kids back in our house unless they're much older and their behavior is under control. He feels the exact same way and supports that decision. What would you do in this situation? How would you interact with the in-laws? Stories number 37. Aita for walking out of my lecture because the professor mocked a topic related to my culture. So I'm 19 and a first-year university student. Last week in my anthropology class, the professor was lecturing on different belief systems and made a joke about ancestor veneration, saying it was like having dead relatives watching you like spiritual Netflix. Most of the class laughed, but I was silent stoned because I don't think it's funny at all. I'm half Japanese and in my family honoring ancestors is something taken seriously. We visit graves, make offerings, and participate in traditions like Oban. It's something I grew up with and hearing it reduced to a joke made me really uncomfortable. I didn't make a scene and just quietly left after that, and later on, the professor emailed me saying my behavior was disruptive and I should have brought concerns to office hours. I responded explaining my perspective, but now I'm wondering if I overreacted. Some classmates support me, others say I'm too sensitive. I wasn't trying to be dramatic. I just didn't feel respected, you know. Aita. Stories number 38. Aita for embarrassing my friend after he mocked me for wanting to be a stay-at-home dad. I've always believed that being a stay-at-home dad is one of the most meaningful and underrated jobs out there, but I genuinely think it would be the most meaningful and rewarding path I could take. Raising children, shaping their early years, and being the central figure of their day-to-day life sounds like the most important work there is. I've mentioned it a few times to my friends, not as a joke, but as a real future goal. The other night, we were all hanging out, and the conversation turned to what we want in the next few years. When I said I'd love to be a stay-at-home dad, one of my friends, let's call him Billy, immediately burst out laughing and said, "What, so you can sit on your ass all day while your wife pays the bills? That's so pathetic, man." Instead of just brushing it off, I got really irritated. I pulled out my phone and, kind of dramatically, Googled, "How much is the average cost of daycare?" read the number out loud, and then said, "Wow, Billy, who knew babysitting was worth more per year than your entire paycheck? Guess you're the pathetic one here." The whole group went dead silent, and Billy's face turned red. He stormed out, and a couple of the other guys told me afterward that I was being an asshole for taking it that far. They said it was just harmless teasing, and I made it unnecessarily personal and humiliating. Now I'm wondering, Aita for firing back like that? I feel like I was standing up for myself, but maybe I crossed a line. Stories number 39. Aita for arguing that you cannot save a spot on a grocery checkout line. Today at a crowded Whole Foods, a man was saving a spot on the checkout line, while his wife and daughter continued to shop. I had already put all of my items on the belt and they still weren't there. I initially had no idea what he was doing and assumed he was with the person in front of me. His family then came with a cart full of groceries insisting to go ahead of me, after all of my groceries were already loaded on. We argued back and forth. He actually attempted to push my groceries backwards and I asked him not to touch my food. Instead of letting me go first, they insisted on giving the cashier each item one by one. They continued to tell me I was wrong for putting my stuff down when I saw he was saving a spot. Who saves a spot on a checkout line with no groceries or cart? It would be one thing if his wife forgot an item and ran back to get it. This was not the case. Stories number 40. My wife is the coolest person out there. My wife is officially the coolest person out there and everyone else can go packing. We ran the Wings for Life World Run today, those who know, and since we're both decent long distance runners we set us the goal of a half marathon 21.1 kilometers. To paint the scene, she's an L&D nurse and worked the night shift just before, barely slept. The run started at 1 p.m., and she's 17 weeks pregnant with a few complications. Those being HG, basically excessive nausea vomiting, and some cardiac things we need to keep an eye on due with the fact that she was born with a congenital heart defect called TAPVR. And let me tell you, she absolutely crushed it. She beat her PB by almost 3 minutes. We finished that half marathon in 1:47, average pace of 5:04 minute km, 8 minutes before the catcher car, basically a moving finish line, caught up to us. I was absolutely in awe. What it is, maybe the daddy hormones, but when we got home I was sat on the porch, tears in my eyes and telling her how awesome she is, while she laughed at me lol. Stories number 41. Aita for asking my boyfriend to stop talking about my body. I am a semi-pro athlete in a weight class sport, and after years of working with my coach we discovered the best method for me to make weight is to do a calorie cut to get me to around 13 to 15% body fat, which for me personally is below my healthiest percentage, but high enough that I can still perform, and I water cut the rest of the weight. Please note, I only stay at the low body fat percentage in the weeks before my competition, then I jump straight into a high calorie diet to gain a healthy level of fat back. My sport has nothing to do with looks and is strictly a performance sport, but I particularly love how small my boobs get, because at a healthier percentage they become quite large to the point I have considered a reduction. My boyfriend knows this. I am now at my lowest weight I will be until my next comp, and he started making comments about how he's so excited for my weight to come back up so my boobs get bigger. I told him he's welcome to think that, but please don't say it, as it's oddly frustrating for him to wish, out loud, for something I dread most about gaining weight. After I asked him to stop talking about my chest, he stopped directly commenting on it but would drop comments like, "Just imagine how great you'll look next month," while staring directly at my chest. So that turned to me asking him just not to comment on my body until after I've performed. He got quite frustrated with me and said it's unreasonable for me to expect him to say nothing about my body. I don't totally disagree, but I also feel that if he can't do it without innuendos about my chest that he should probably just stop. I'm not asking him to stop commenting on my body forever, but to just sort of wait. Stories number 42. Aita for pointing out that my wife's family offers absolutely no help with kids. My wife and I have 3 kids, 6M, 4F, almost 2F. I am one of 4 siblings and my wife is one of 5. Because all 3 of my siblings are older and all with kids, they've always known exactly how difficult and stressful parenting is at times, especially when they're younger. All 3 families have taken mine to apple orchards, the movies, my older 2 to a water park last summer, the beach and playgrounds and fairs, mini-golf, water balloon fights or touch-a-truck events more times than I can count. Additionally, my older 2 have had sleepovers with their cousins many times, and we've had them to our house plenty too, including lots of overnights for a variety of reasons. My family absolutely has a "it takes a village" attitude. My wife's family is the opposite. She's the second youngest of 5, all married, 0 kids between the other 4 up until last July. Her baby brother will maybe 1x per year do something with our kids, but the older 3 have never, not once, reached out to do anything in 6+ years. Not to help give us a weekend afternoon to clean the house, not to take any of the kids to bowling or bike riding or fishing. Older 2 love to fish, never once. It sucks because we would love and appreciate any amount of help offered and obviously want our kids to have great relationships with their aunts and uncles as well. Her parents don't help at all either. No babysitting, no weekend overnights at grandma's, no going out to get lunch with the grandkids, nothing. Her mom even made a huge deal about being the kids' secondary emergency contact for the school, should they be unable to reach us or my mom first. To date, there's been 0x she'd have been called, yet it didn't stop her from not speaking to her daughter, my wife, for around 3 weeks. So childish. All because we asked, didn't demand. We asked. Anyway, my wife's younger brother and his wife just had a baby boy last July and it's been a tough first year for them. First the little guy had colic issues for a few months. Now it seems he's getting lots of ear infections and they're already making plans for the tubes being put in eventually. He has a sensitive stomach and I guess he's a tough sleeper too. This little baby just doesn't want to play ball and at almost a year he's still only sleeping 5-ish hours at a time. My wife and I have done what we can to help. We've taken him for plenty of afternoons to give them breaks and we've gone over there and taken him for walks around their neighborhood, and nearby HS track so they can get things done in their home. Today we're all over their mom's house for a potluck dinner, and her brother looks like he's on the verge of a nervous breakdown, super stressed. His wife looks highly emotional too. He looks at everyone else and says they're basically drowning and if anybody else, besides us, could help a little too, they'd be so appreciative. Crickets. At the full dinner table I just responded to him, "Good luck, man. This family absolutely sucks for getting any help at all. You have us, but you only have us." Once you make peace with that, it's much easier to process, overcome, and plan accordingly. Apparently, this was a showstopper of a line because it ruffled all the older siblings' feathers, which when they questioned their lack of involvement, my wife dug in. It quickly became a 4-on-8 argument about how 0 help or interaction is ever offered, and the few times we asked were always met with, "Sorry, we can't today, or tomorrow, or next weekend." Our thought is go be dinks, it's your life, nobody should have kids they don't want. Go and enjoy your life, but would it honestly kill you to take their 10-month-old on a 90-minute carriage walk to help your brother who is clearly losing his grip? Phil texted me earlier saying while he sees my point, my comments ruined dinner and it'd be nice to have a group text apology to keep the peace. I'll apologize to all of them if this sub says to do so. ETA, DINK, stands for, double income, no kids. It's not a mean comment, it's an acronym to describe people with 2 incomes and 0 children. Stories number 43. Aita for leaving a former friend and her early teen child on the side of the road because she refused to parent the child at all. Hey everyone. This happened last week. My former friend, 39F, has a 14-year child, father not in the picture ever. I helped take care of this kid, babysitting, buying baby age appropriate things. This kid has always been hyperactive, and I've told my former friend that needed to be checked out. She always brushed me off. Even the schools recommended that she take child to get evaluated, and she shuts that down really quickly. What happened last week, I was driving them to a restaurant so we could sit down and catch up. I'm on the highway and this kid unbuckles their seatbelt and covers my eyes while I'm driving. Of course I freak out, but my former friend finds it hilarious. So I pull over and tell them both to get out in the darkest tone I've ever spoken in. They both got out and I drove off home. When she called to apologize, I said that her kid was too much to handle and if she didn't get them professional help, that I wouldn't come around anymore. She called me crazy, and that nothing was wrong with her child, that they were just being a kid. Stories number 44. My coworker's mom called me at work because her sweet boy had to stay late. So this happened last week, but I still think about it sometimes and feel both secondhand rage and pity. A new guy joined my team at the start of last month who we will call Sam. Sam is a quiet guy, early 30s, polite to a fault, always looking over his shoulder like he's about to get in trouble. At first, I thought he was just shy. But within a week, I figured something was off. He'd get these phone calls every 30 minutes. Like clockwork. Eventually, I asked him if everything was okay. That's when he admitted it was his mother. She needed to know what he was doing at all times. Like, literally, where are you sitting, what are you eating, who are you talking to, type updates. He said he was raised that way and just never broke the habit. I could see him shrink into himself every time she called, like the life got sucked out of him in real time. Anyway, it's the month end and we had to stay back late to wrap up some department reporting. Everyone stayed a couple extra hours. It was quiet, we were all working, and suddenly Sam's phone rings again. He steps outside. 2 minutes later, he comes back inside looking white as a sheet and says, "Hey Mr. Coco, my mom wants to speak with you." I thought he was joking. He was not. He looked like he was about to cry. I took the call out of sheer disbelief. And oh boy, I wish I hadn't. This woman unleashed on me. How dare you make my son work past office hours? He needs to come home and rest. You don't know what he's been through. Don't you know how dangerous the roads are? I was too stunned to even respond properly. I just said, "Ma'am, I think Sam can explain the situation better," and handed the phone back. And that's when something amazing happened. Sam finally snapped. He didn't yell, but his voice was steady. "I need this job, Mom. You can't keep doing this. I'm staying late because that's my responsibility and everyone is here too. Please just stop." It was quiet for a second, and then he just ended the call. Honestly, I was proud of him. I know how hard it is to stand up to your parents, especially when they tried to control you your whole life. We wrapped up an hour later. I offered to take him out for a cold drink just to decompress, and he looked like someone who had finally removed a 20-year-old weight off his chest. But when I dropped him off near his house, he gave me a small, awkward smile and just said, "Thanks, tonight's going to be rough." I haven't heard his mom's voice since then, but he still gets those calls. Just less frequently now. I really hope he makes it out okay. Some cages don't even have bars, you just carry them in your head. Stories number 45. I loaned $2,500 for her wedding dress and then I ruined the wedding. I've known Emily for years. She's my best friend, the one I've always had by my side. So when she asked me for $2,500 to buy her wedding dress, I didn't hesitate. She was marrying my cousin, Jack, the guy she'd been with for years. They seemed perfect together. Then came the bachelorette party. Something felt off. Emily disappeared for hours, and when she came back, she was acting strange. Her other friends were visibly uncomfortable, but no one said anything. I didn't pry, it wasn't my business until I found out what happened. A week before the wedding, a mutual friend told me that she saw Emily cheating on Jack with one of his friends at the bachelorette party. It wasn't just a quick mistake, it was full-on betrayal. I couldn't stay silent. I couldn't let her get away with this, especially with a man who'd always loved and respected her. Plus, Jack is family. I had to tell him. So I reached out to him. I told him everything, the details of what went down at the party. He needed to know the truth. He was crushed, but he deserved it. The next day, Emily called me in a panic, crying and cursing. The wedding was off. Jack sent out a message to everyone, explaining what had happened. The wedding was cancelled. Emily didn't just lose Jack, she lost the respect of everyone who knew her. I know she won't pay me back now, but seeing Jack free of her lies, and Emily face the consequences of her actions, was enough. Stories number 46. I told my BF to move back to his parents' place. We are both in our mid-30s and have a child together. A month ago we moved out his parents' place and rent an apartment. I wanted to move out and live on our own. He wants to stay at his parents to stay money and they practically do everything for him, even childcare. Since we moved to the apt, he would work from home 2+ days at his parents' place and he would sleep over one night. I recently got fed up and told him to just move back if he is going to spend all his waking hours over there. He keeps saying he wants to be at the apt with me and our child. I understand it's normal to miss home and want to visit your parents, but this is excessive to me. He shouldn't move out and waste both our time and money if you work there, eat breakfast, lunch and dinner 3 days out of the week there. I told him that he is a bad partner and father. He is only a good son. He worries that his parents will be lonely without him, but he is fine leaving me and our child alone. Since he is over his parents' place most of the time, our child is already sleeping when he comes back. Our child is usually asleep when he comes back from work and napping eating after work when we lived with his parents. Hence, I told him he is a bad father. Stories number 47. Staying the night at his house tonight. So my friend, 27M, asked me, 29F, to stay over tonight to bring him to work in the morning. His car needs a new clutch. I have a huge crush on him, so obviously I said yes, and I made a joke about us sharing his bed and he said sure. Just finished my shower and I'm laying down waiting for him to come lay down. I know nothing's gonna happen like that but progress. Edit. Wow, this blew way up, I'm kinda embarrassed lol, just dropped him off at work. Now I have to drive an hour home. I only got like 2 hours of sleep. I'm going straight back to bed when I get home, but he bought me breakfast and coffee and I'm staying the night again tonight. Stories number 48. I gaslit my college library out of late fees by returning my own books. Back in college, one semester I took out a bunch of books for researching a big project. This was back when internet research was not admissible, and you needed to properly cite all your sources. School and life got away from me, and I forgot to return the books and kinda forgot about them. That was until the end of the semester when I got the late library dues bill in the mail. I think the fees were like 25 cents per book per day, and I had at least 10 books over a month late. I didn't have any money, and if you didn't pay your library fines, you could not get your grades transcript for the semester. Instead of sheepishly returning the books and paying the fines, I put the books in my backpack and returned them all to their correct places on the shelves. I then called the library the next day and questioned the validity of the letter regarding my overdue books. The librarian left me on hold for a few minutes and returned to the phone apologizing to me that it seemed the books had in fact been returned. Library dues were erased and they didn't hold back my transcript. Stories number 49. I shamed the office gossiper. With an added twist I didn't see coming. I work with a woman, let's call her Shelley, who is always spreading gossip, most of which is told to her in confidence. She boasts how she can get information out of anyone, so I thought I would let it backfire on her. One Friday night at the pub, early on, I told her I had a secret about one of our coworkers, a quiet, awkward nerdy type who manages the IT network. He's probably on the spectrum, but we won't go into that. Let's call him Richard. She begged me to tell her his secret. I insisted she would have to promise me to tell no one else, under any circumstances, that he told me in strictest confidence and would never forgive me. Of course she promised. I told her Richard had won more than $10 million in a lottery, and was intent on continuing work and keeping it private. I said if she told anyone he would have to quit work. He loved his job and didn't do it for the money. She said his secret was safe with her. During the course of the evening I watched her flit around the crowd, leaning in to whisper her treasure, and enjoying the astonishment that accompanied the reveal. I watched Richard become popular, and even attracting an abnormal level of female attention. At the end of the evening Richard went home with one of the women from the office. A first. After sleeping with her, she admitted she knew about his lottery win. To which, he laughed and asked who told her that nonsense. About an hour later, on Saturday morning, I got a phone call from Shelley, furious that I had deceived her, and made a fool of her in front of the entire office. She didn't know how she was going to be able to face work on Monday. I said she only had herself to blame. I told her not to tell anyone. And she told everyone. Now she's threatening to take me to HR for spreading a malicious rumor with the intent of ostracizing her at work, jeopardizing her job. I said, be my guest. Stories number 50. My ex wrote me a really heartfelt letter and it's put me in an awkward position. My 29M, ex, 27F, dated for almost 5 years. I had been saving up for a wedding and an engagement ring at this point and was pretty close to pulling the trigger. About 4.5 years in, our strong bond started to have some issues. She, we'll call her Sam, was really stressed out over her job and was having some serious family issues. That stress was causing conflict. It was nothing I thought was serious, but I tried to do the best I could. On my birthday that same year, instead of coming over and going out to dinner, she asked me to come outside and talk. Sam broke up with me and said she deserved better. I was absolutely heartbroken. I genuinely tried to fight for our relationship and asked about what went wrong, but she just fought through tears and told me to go. After a year of therapy and healing, I found a new girl, 23F, we'll call Bri, who has been great. We've been dating for a little over a year now and it's been a pretty happy relationship. Last week I got a letter in the mail addressed to me. It was from Sam. I'll try to keep a long story short, but the summary is she had been going through some serious anxiety and mental health issues with last couple months of our relationship. There were things I knew and things I didn't know. This put her in a very bad place where she stopped her medication. This made things worse, and in her fragile state, she convinced herself that I was the problem. After our breakup, Sam continued to spiral. Things continued to get worse where she was cutting off friends and family. One friend finally realized something was wrong and sat Sam down. She went to the hospital, got some long-term treatment, and slowly started to feel better. After some intense therapy, she realized how terrible of a mistake she made. She apologized for treating me poorly in the last couple months and expressed deep regret for her decisions. Sam asked for two things. One of if I could forgive her for the treatment I received. The second one was if there was any possibility at all, to consider reconnecting with her. She said she'd understand if I say no, but she would live her life in regret if she didn't ask. I'm kind of a mess now. I was close to marrying this girl, but I have moved on. She doesn't know I'm in a relationship. I love Bri, but I genuinely don't know how to feel right now. How should I go about this? Stories number 51. My progressive boyfriend told me a joke recently. So I want to start out saying that my BF is the absolute best person in the world. He cooks, cleans, dyes laundry, like everything, more often than I do because I have quite a demanding job. Now recently out of nowhere he made a joke about how women are inferior to men. He said something of this sense, "Ugh, women make things just worse for society." And I was kinda taken aback, because that's the first time I've heard him say something like that, and I reprimanded him. I didn't like him saying such things. Then he told me that he was just joking and I answered that jokes are supposed to be funny. Then he said something that made me furious. Well, you just can't take a joke because you hate being your gender. Like? What the hell? I asked him to elaborate, because I work in a very male-dominated sector and come home very late while he is working from home the entire day. Then later that day he made a similar joke. I snapped, and he promised to never joke like that again. What is happening? I've never had any problems like this before with him. Is it the media he consumes that makes him say that bullshit? He has always been actually the most, progressive man I have ever met, that's why we even became a couple. Now I don't know anymore. I feel like this is the first sign of incel behavior and I don't want to marry such a man. Am I just overthinking this? TLDR, my feminist BF made an unfunny and frankly sexist joke and told me I don't find it funny because I hate being a woman. Edit. I totally didn't expect anyone to read this post, so I'm really thankful for all your perspectives and support. Since reading through your comments I've talked to him and showed him this post and he does seem to agree that he misstepped. He said that he'll think about it and that he'll talk to me later. On a side note, I've come to realize that the men at my workplace are immensely chauvinist, sexist, and I may have very low standards on what progressive means. I guess I have a lot to learn as well. And again, thanks to you all for your time and concern. Stories number 52. Aita for not splitting the inheritance when I was the only one who took care of our hoarder mother. I, 34F, was the only one out of 4 siblings who stayed in contact with our mom after our dad died. She became a full-on hoarder, the kind where the house smelled like ammonia, dead mice under piles of trash, actual mold on the walls. Everyone else cut contact. They said it was too much for their mental health and not how they wanted to remember her. I visited every week, bought her groceries and managed her meds, cleaned literal human waste off the floor, fought with her when she refused help, and watched her slowly deteriorate while they lived their lives. When she died last year I was the one who found her. The will left everything, the house and the savings, what little there was, to me. No lawyer and no drama, just a handwritten will saying everything to my name because she's the only one who's been here. I cleaned the house, paid out of pocket for professional hazmat services and got it appraised. It's worth nearly $750,000 now, and suddenly my siblings have reappeared saying I manipulated her, that I isolated her, and that I should split it 4 ways. One of them said, "You profited off her illness." I didn't profit, I lost years of my life, my peace and almost my marriage over the trauma of it all. I told them no. I said they didn't want her when she was alive, so they don't get to claim her now that she's worth something. They're threatening to sue. I don't feel guilty, but I feel tired. So Aita, should I split it 4 ways just so that they get off my back? Stories number 53. Smooched the wrong cooch and experienced true horror. I'm a very open, vulgar person. I love making my friends laugh with my various sexual exploits, especially the ones that make me look like an idiot. However, I have never told anybody this. I was in a situationship with this girl from Donegal. She was an absolute freak. Loves everything and anything you can imagine except P in the V. Some religious bollocks. I literally fucked this girl in the eyes, elbow, knee, mouth, feet, just no P and V. Anyway, we went home for the summer and on day one when I came back in second year we bumped into each other. Few drinks, quick catch up and before you know it we're back at mine. I'm going down on her and slightly confused. I could normally make her come within a few minutes with oral but I'm doing all my usual stuff and she's barely reacting. Next thing, humiliations of all humiliations she says, it's fine, just fuck me. I felt like an awful failure but when I pulled my head back I realized I wasn't licking her clit, I was licking a genital wart. I don't know how I never got anything myself but it has always haunted me. Stories number 54. My friend got my full name tattooed without my permission. I think I've handled this but I just have to get this off my chest because it's crazy. My best friend of about 7 or 8 years got my full government name tattooed in a very large font on their wrist as a surprise for my birthday without asking my permission. I mean my full first, middle and last name. It's absolutely massive. It was so shocking and I had to call them maybe 4 hours later after I processed to tell them that it absolutely has to go and I am not okay with it. I mean my full name just absolutely branded in their wrist. They had pure intentions but I was just absolutely not okay with it. If they had asked me about this I would have told them absolutely not. It doesn't help that we ran into each other at Walmart when I was with my boyfriend and we were both shown at the same time. He obviously doesn't like it either. It's just so jarring to see my name like that. I'm not even sure if I want to continue this friendship because it just feels disrespectful. Stories number 55. Hospitals that have 2 patients in one room. I have been in the hospital for 7 days and I'm sharing a room with an old man who has done nothing but talk about how he might have strep, has been farting constantly, has had companies of 8 plus people including kids. These kids run around the room and one stole my phone and asked if there's any games on it. I'm IV'd so I can't chase him to get it and the nurses and doctors won't do anything about it. I honestly wish it was still COVID so that these rooms couldn't have visitors and were one person. I'm in so much pain, I'm tired and I need to wear earplugs in my own hospital room. This is bullshit. Stories number 56. Dicked with a roommate for using my soap and leaving his pubes on it. I once had a roommate who would use the soap bars of roommates he disliked. He would also leave his mark by placing a single pubic hair on top of the bar after each use. Since everyone showered alone, there was always plausible deniability, but everyone knew it was him. He kept doing it to another roommate until the guy got sick of him and just left. Afterwards, he tried pulling the same tactic on me. I pretended not to notice the first time, then replaced my soap bar with another fresh one, only this second bar I made sure to rub a healthy dose of jalapeno oil onto it. The next time he showered, I heard his screams of agony and broke into fits of giggles. He never touched my soap again. Stories number 57. Aita for refusing to let my child attend a sleepover at a house I'm not comfortable with. I, 35F, have a 9-year-old daughter, Lily. Recently, she was invited to a sleepover at one of her classmates' house, and while Lily was excited about it, I was hesitant from the start. The parents of the classmate, Tara, 38F, and Mark, 40M, are relatively new acquaintances, and I don't know them very well. We've only met briefly a few times at school events, and I haven't had a chance to really get to know them beyond pleasantries. What made me uncomfortable was that Tara mentioned in passing that she and Mark would be out for most of the evening, leaving the kids with a teenage babysitter. I've also heard some concerning things about their previous parties, nothing major, just things that made me raise an eyebrow. When I voiced my concerns, Lily begged me to let her go, and Tara reassured me everything would be fine. But I didn't feel comfortable with the idea, so I told Lily she couldn't go, and I explained that I wasn't okay with her staying overnight at someone else's house without us knowing the adults would be home. Tara was very upset when I declined. She said I was overreacting, and that it was just a sleepover with a few other kids, and that everyone is invited to be part of the fun. She also mentioned I was being overprotective and ruining Lily's chances to socialize. My family and a few friends think I might be overreacting as well, but I just feel that it's my responsibility to keep my daughter safe, even if it means disappointing her. Aita for refusing to let my child attend a sleepover at a house I'm not comfortable with. Stories number 58. I pretended to be asleep so I could hear him whisper, "I love you," and I don't know how to feel about it. I've been with my boyfriend for 2 years now. We live together, we laugh a lot, we've built a quiet little life. But one thing has always weighed on me, he's never said, "I love you." He shows it, sure, in his actions, his care, the way he brings me soup when I'm sick or watches terrible reality shows just to sit close. But he's never said it. And maybe words shouldn't matter so much, but for me, they do. Last week, I had a migraine and went to bed early. He thought I was asleep. I felt him crawl into bed, his arm wrap around me. Then, very softly, he whispered, "I love you. I'm just scared to lose you if I say it." I froze. He didn't know I heard. I didn't move. I wanted so badly to respond, to hold him, to tell him I felt the same, but something in me said to stay still. And now I can't stop thinking about it. Do I bring it up? Do I wait for him to say it when he's ready? Was that the most honest moment we've had, or the most heartbreaking? Stories number 59. Conversation between my coworkers and boss, right at my desk, sounded like an introvert bash session. Boss had just got back from a trip with some friends. They went on a bourbon trail, I think it's called. Anyway, they're all literally standing at my desk having this loud-ass conversation about her trip. Boss starts absolutely trashing two of her friends, that are a couple. This couple apparently didn't want to play card games with everyone when back at their cabin. Instead, they wanted to rest and have some quiet time. No big deal. Right? Well, when I say this was a bash session, I mean it was a bash session. Apparently this was just the worst thing this couple could have done. We were trying to play euchre and we needed 2 more people, but they just refused. Calling them selfish and all kinds of things. One of my coworkers exclaimed, they were on a trip with friends, not just each other. They shouldn't go on trips like this if they just want to relax. Just, what? Let me get this straight. You are all 3 sitting here trashing these people, at my desk for some reason, because they wanted to rest, have a little quiet time alone together, after doing a freaking bourbon trail. You can't simply find a different game? Or find something else to do? There were apparently still 4 of them. I think they could have found other games or activities. Just because you're on a friend's vacation, doesn't mean you have to be up each other's asses the entire trip. I'm glad I don't go on any trips with them. I'm thinking the couple aren't the selfish ones in this situation. Tell me you don't respect boundaries without telling me you don't respect boundaries. And yes, sometimes the 3 of them go on work trips together and stay in the same hotel room. I will absolutely not be participating in any of that noise. By the way, they had this conversation at my desk. I was actually trying to work, talk to clients on the phone, while this was going on. Stories number 60. My friend's cat hates me, so I started leaving passive-aggressive notes around the house. Every time I stay over at my mate's house, his cat acts like she pays rent and I'm the intruder. She watches me sleep. She knocks over my bag. She hisses when I breathe too loud, so I started leaving her notes, proper passive-aggressive roommate energy. We get it, you're fluffy and bitter. Stop watching me sleep, it's weird. The butter in the fridge? I saw you lick it. We're not cool. You're not the main character. You're just a cat. I've been sliding these notes under her food bowl and leaving them on the sofa. She hasn't changed, but she blinks slower now. Might be a truce forming or a threat, either way, I'm not backing down. Stories number 61. Will I be laughed out of court? Should I get a lawyer? My ex killed my pets. We broke up before I had to get a surgery. He agreed to watch them, which I have text evidence of, and one day when I sent him an apology text, he didn't like that and killed my animals. Now, this is absolutely devastating to me, but said animals were giant silk moths. I feel like I won't be taken seriously in court because they're bugs. But they were my pets that I was caring for 8 months, they cost $90, and I was going to profit $700 off of selling them as taxidermy. Is this too wacky for court to the point I should consider a lawyer? He thinks I'm taking him to court just to see him and be crazy. I'm certain that's how he'll paint me out to be in court. I don't have any other source of income now, again, surgery, so this is really affecting my life. I don't know, I'm distraught.